This is Henry Simon bringing you another story from my files here at the Missing Persons Bureau.
In these stories of the Missing Persons Bureau, dramatized for Henry Simon, names and addresses have, for obvious reasons, been changed. The Colgate Show, address unknown, is brought to you by the makers of Colgate Dental Cream, Colgate Toothbrushes, Colgate Shampoo, Colgate Beauty Soap, Colgate Hairspray, and Colgate Talc.
In one moment, the search for Royce Weston, address unknown.
And here again is Henry Simon.
The sensational stories that one occasionally reads in newspapers are very often less sensational than those which one does not read, for the very good reason that the papers themselves have been instructed not to print them. And you may be very sure that such instructions have come from a source with considerable power. Newspaper editors speak with some vehemence about governmental instructions which take the form of two letters, simply DP, which stand quite obviously for don't print. When an editor receives a DP, there's almost nothing that he can do about it without bringing upon himself and his newspaper a great deal of trouble. This puts me in mind of an assignment we received some years ago, an assignment which began with the arrival in my office of Sandra Weston, an attractive young woman of about 26, well-dressed and in a state of some tension and nervousness.
It's about my husband, Mr. Simon, Royce Weston. I don't know what to do anymore. I've been doing everything I can, but I seem to be running around in circles. Nobody seems to be able to help me.
Well, let's take it nice and calmly, Mrs. Weston, and see if there's anything we can perhaps do. Now, your husband is missing.
Yes, for nearly a week now. It's ridiculous. His office says he's not missing, that he's simply off on a business trip. But I know that isn't possible.
Why not?
Well, we've only been married a few months, and Royce just wouldn't do something like this. Besides, we've had things to do this week. A theatre booking, a party at some friends, a new art show this evening. Royce wouldn't simply have gone off and forgotten about everything without saying a word to me. He left last Sunday, and he said quite distinctly that he would be away for one day, that he'd be back on Monday night, and now it's Friday.
Back from where?
Germany. He travels there occasionally for his firm. He's with a textile company, Forbes and Baker. This time he had to go to Berlin. But one day isn't five, Mr. Simon. There's something wrong, something very wrong.
Have you been to the police about this?
Yes, and they're less help than anybody. They simply won't do a thing about it.
Oh, that's very unusual.
Unusual or not, that's exactly what's happened. I waited until Tuesday morning before I checked with the office, and they told me they knew nothing about Royce's movements. On Thursday, I spoke to the manager, Mr. Horcross. He said Royce was still away, so I didn't know that, and that it was quite normal for him to stay away for as long as he wanted. They said he often did this sort of thing, found new business, and just stayed away until he tied it up. I mean, have you ever heard of anything so ridiculous in your life?
It does sound rather odd, I agree.
Yesterday afternoon, I went to the police and told them what had happened. The desk sergeant took down all the details and said they'd do what they could. I telephoned them later, and I was referred to an inspector. He said that they'd contacted Forbes and Baker, and there didn't seem to be any cause for alarm. He just mouthed the same things that Horcross had said and told me there wasn't anything in the circumstances that he could do. Well, I've had enough of it. I want you to do something about it now, Mr. Simon. I want you to find my husband.
Well, Mrs. Weston, if we have to send an agent to Germany to look for him, this could be rather an expensive undertaking.
The financial side isn't important. We're quite reasonably well off. But what is important is that I know what's happened to Royce.
In that case, Mrs. Weston, let's see what we can do. First, a description of your husband, please.
Oh, Royce is 34. He's 5'10", and he weighs 170. He has black hair and blue eyes. I have a photograph of him, if that's any use to you.
I'm sure it will be.
It's a very good likeness, really. Here we are.
Oh, thank you. An interesting face. Any distinguishing marks, scars, birthmarks, anything like that?
On his face, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, just one very small scar on his jaw, just under the right ear, about 1.5 inches long. But it's not really very noticeable.
Well, you never know. It might just help. Was your husband booked in at a hotel in Berlin?
Yes, the Kaiserhof in Tempelstrasse.
Kaiserhof, Tempelstrasse. Do you know the nature of the business he went over on? The people he had to see, for instance?
No, I'm afraid not. Royce doesn't talk about his work when he gets home. He says textiles are a terribly dull subject of conversation.
I think I'd be tempted to agree with him. Well, Mrs. Weston, I'll assign an agent to the case at once. I'm sure we'll be able to come up with something for you anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Simon. I can't tell you how grateful I am.
I'll save the gratitude for later, Mrs. Weston, when we find out what's happened to this husband of yours. I called in Agent Luke Parker and briefed him on the assignment. His first call was to Royce Weston's employers. The offices of Forbes and Baker were housed in an old and not very businesslike block in Knightsbridge. The ground floor was taken up with a tailor shop, a grocery, a bookstore, and a second-hand furniture shop. A quick check at the tenant's listing showed a motley collection of occupants, jewelers, milliners, second-hand books, engravers, agents, and an employment agency. Forbes and Baker were on the second floor.
Come in.
Good morning, ma'am. This is Forbes and Baker, right?
That's right. What can I do for you?
The name's Parker. I'm from the Missing Persons Bureau. I'd like to see Mr. Hawcross, if I may.
You have an appointment?
Oh, no, not exactly, but I'm sure that...
One either has an appointment or one doesn't. You fall into the latter category, Mr. Parker. I'm sorry. It will be quite impossible for you to see Mr. Hawcross today. He's extremely busy.
Well, this won't take long, ma'am.
I would prefer it if you did not address me as Mom, Mr. Parker. My name is Mrs. Magnus. I have no royalty in my blood.
Yeah, well, Mrs. Magnus, like I said, this won't take long. I'd just like to see Mr. Hawcross about one of your employees, Royce Weston. You see, we've been asked...
Mr. Weston, is he your missing person?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, dear. And I suppose your client is Mrs. Weston.
She sure is.
Oh, well, let me give you a very good piece of advice, Mr. Parker. Don't waste your time. I assure you that Mr. Weston is not missing, and that your search for him will be nothing but time-consuming and pointless. He happens to be away on a business trip at the moment in Germany. There is nothing unusual about it, and I'm sure Mr. Weston will be returning very shortly.
Uh-huh. You say there's nothing unusual about it?
Nothing whatsoever.
Now, would you mind telling me who Weston went to see in Berlin? His business appointment last Monday.
Very well. It was a very routine business matter. Now, here we are. Klotz Gunter, Gunter Fabriken, Junkerstrasse, 135. Does that help you, Mr. Parker?
Maybe. Who's he been seeing since Monday?
I really have no idea.
And he hasn't contacted you to even let you know that he'll be away for any additional length of time?
No,
You're not worried about him?
certainly not.
Why not, Mrs. Magnus? Couldn't something maybe have happened to him? Something bad, like a motor accident, maybe? For all you know, the guy could have been killed over there. And you sit here and say there's nothing unusual about it all.
I don't think there's anything further we can tell you, Mr. Parker. We seem to be talking at cross purposes.
Yeah, we do, kinda. You know something, Mrs. Magnus? I think there's a whole lot you could tell me if you wanted to. I think something fishy's going on, and you're just keeping your mouth shut about it. I think, even if you don't know where Weston is, you could give me a pretty good idea about how I could maybe find him. You know as well as I do that there is something very unusual about all this. But you're choosing to ignore the whole thing and stick your head in the sand about it. Now, what are you going to say about that, Mrs. Magnus?
Oh, interesting, Mr. Parker. Most interesting.
And that's all you got to say?
That is all, Mr. Parker. Good day.
Parker reported back to me and gave me a verbatim report of what had transpired at Forbes and Baker. In the circumstances, there seemed little else we could do but start making inquiries in Berlin, and Parker accordingly boarded the evening flight and arrived at the Kaiserhof Hotel some hours later. It was one of those newer, American-designed and financed hotels, very modern and glass-walled, with everything to make the American tourist feel that he'd never left home. The receptionist behind the desk was young and extremely attractive.
Hi there. Hey, what's a nice girl like you doing in a place like this?
I'm working here, mynheer. Can I be of assistance?
I sure hope so, honey. I wonder if you'd mind checking your register for me. I'm interested in a guy who arrived here last Sunday evening. The name is Weston, Mr. Royce Weston.
Of course. One moment, please. I will look. Tuesday, Monday. Sunday. Herr Weston was the man?
Yeah, Royce Weston from London.
Weston. Here it is. Herr Royce Weston, 47 Moorcombe Drive, Brightston, Surrey. This is the gentleman of whom you inquire.
Yeah, he sure is.
Room 820, mynheer.
No, I don't want to know what room he checked into. Just when he checked out, or whether or not he left his forwarding address, that's all.
But I do not understand.
Oh, he didn't leave a forwarding address?
But no, mynheer. He has not checked out. He is still registered.
Henry Simon returns to continue this story in just a moment. You are listening to The Colgate Show, Address Unknown.
Sue, some of Bill's relatives have just turned up. Can you lend me some sheets?
Wow!
Look at these sheets. They're twice white.
You bet they are. That's Bingo White. Only Bingo has regular and ultra blue to get your wash twice white. Ultra blue is Colgate's name for laundry blue. And Bingo is the only washing powder to contain genuine laundry blue. Put that wow into your whites and colors. Get Bingo washing powder.
Nothing could be milder for your skin than pure, gentle Palmolive soap.
Because Palmolive is rich in nature's beauty oils to give you that young Palmolive look.
Be younger looking with mild, moisturizing Palmolive soap.
Housewives, how would you like a year's free supply of groceries? That's the first prize in the Palmolive Soap Money Tree contest. Prizes worth 2,500 rand must be won. Entry details at Palmolive Soap displays in your favorite store.
And here again is Henry Simon.
Agent Parker's face registered a mild blankness. Then he grabbed the hotel register and spun it round to face him. He scanned the names and found Royce Weston's featured prominently in a neat, concise handwriting. According to the register, he had checked into the hotel on the evening of the Sunday he arrived and was still registered in room 820.
Oh, just let me get this right, honey. Royce Weston ain't checked out? He didn't leave here on Monday?
Why, no, mynheer. As you can see, here's still the room.
Good evening, mynheer. I can be of help, perhaps. Is something the matter?
Who are you, Bertie?
Heinz Kruger, assistant manager of the hotel. I may assist you, mynheer.
I don't know. According to this register, Royce Weston is still a resident here. Is that right?
May I be permitted to see the register? Danke. Yeah, that's correct. He occupies room 820 on the 8th floor.
Is he here right now?
Yes, sir. The key to Herr Weston's room?
Ja, Herr Kruger, it is here.
Ah, so. I am afraid, mynheer, that the key is down here. Herr Weston is not at present in the hotel.
Oh, but he is still living here. I mean, he has been seen since last Monday.
Yeah, I regret I cannot help you. We have many guests, mynheer. One naturally does not wish to interfere, and we do not make note of their comings and goings.
But Weston was originally only supposed to stay the one night.
Then perhaps he changed his plans.
Yeah, so it would seem. You don't know where I could find him, do you?
I'm afraid not, mynheer.
Great. Great, just great.
Well, perhaps if you would care to leave the message.
No, I'll do better than that. I'd like to check in, please. You have a room for me?
But of course. Fräulein Schmidt will assist you, mynheer.
Yeah, good. Then when Weston gets back, if he gets back, you can let me know right away.
But But Royce Weston didn't return that night. Parker waited in the hotel and left instructions with the desk to call him if and when Royce Weston appeared. There was no call. Parker confirmed the next morning that Weston had not returned to the hotel. He decided to follow up the lead of the business address of the firm on whom Weston was supposed to have called on the Monday and asked the receptionist for the directions.
Gunther Fabrik in Junkerstrasse 135. This is the address, mein Herr?
Sure. Could you tell me how to get there?
Oh, I would suggest a taxi, mein Herr. Junkerstrasse is in the eastern sector. It would not be wise to travel by bus.
The eastern sector? Holy cow. I mean, ain't it kind of difficult to get across there? What about the checkpoints and so on?
For a tourist to visit the eastern sector, there is no difficulty, mein Herr. Neither to get in nor to get out again. But for an East Berliner to get out... here, mein Herr, there is considerable difficulty.
Parker duly took a taxi and made his way through the checkpoint at the wall. As the receptionist had said, there was no trouble in doing so. Parker's passport was stamped and his time of entry recorded by the Voorposts. He was asked when he would be returning, and this information, too, was recorded. Then, to his surprise and relief, he was passed through. Junkerstrasse was a long, drab, and uninteresting street with a few business blocks interspersed between rows of bleak-looking houses and blocks of flats.
Number 135, mein Herr. We come to it now. On the left, Gunther Fabriken.
That's it, pal. Kind of grim looking, ain't it? I mean, they don't look as though they're doing a heck of a lot of business.
In the east, everything looks this way. You will be a long time inside, mein Herr? Or you wish for me to wait?
No, I'd like you to wait, please. I don't know how long I'll be. Is that okay with you?
Okay, buddy. I wait.
Thanks. You wow, I'm on TV.
Guten Tag, mein Herr.
Oh, hi there. I wonder if I could see the manager or somebody like that.
Bitte, please to wait. I will call.
Thanks. Wow. In a place like this, they could do a great sideline and tombstones. It's about as cheerful as a graveyard. That dame's face when she heard an American accent. Man, she sure was scared about something. And let's face it, Parker, your face may not launch 1,000 ships, but it does not generally scare away the kids or anything like that. So why the frightened reaction? Beats me.
Good morning, mein Herr. I am Klaus Gunther, and may be of assistance, yes?
Oh, how do you do? I'm Luke Parker, Missing Persons Bureau, London. You own this company, Mr. Gunther?
This is correct.
Well, you're the guy I want to see, all right. I'm making inquiries about Royce Weston.
Herr Weston?
Yeah, from Forbes and Baker in London. I believe he had an appointment to see you last Monday.
Yeah, he did. But he did not keep the appointment.
Oh? He didn't show up at all?
No, I've not seen him.
He didn't call you or anything? To maybe explain why he didn't make this scene?
I received no call from him, nor did I see him. Is there anything else, mein Herr?
Why, no, I guess not. If you didn't see him, you can't very well help me.
In which case, I bid you good day, mein Herr. I am most busy.
How about that? As soon as I mentioned Weston's name, Gunther clams up like he's gotten sudden lockjaw. And he was pretty scared, too. He tried to be nice and deadpan, but I saw his eyes. He wasn't fooling anybody. But why? What's with this Weston character, anyway? He's just a textile salesman. Or is he? Yeah. Or is he, indeed? There's something very fishy about this character.
Mein Herr.
Yeah? What's up, pal?
Bitte, you are in some kind of trouble?
Trouble? Me? What are you talking about?
Behind us, since the checkpoint, has a car been traveling. They follow us.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. I do not wish for trouble, mein Herr.
Well, that figures. How far is it to the hotel?
2 blocks. Tempelstrasse is the street after the next one.
Okay, well, pull up here. I'll walk the rest of the way. If I am being followed, I want to know the reason why.
Danke, mein Herr.
Yeah, in a busy street like this, it won't be easy for them to start anything. Let's see what happens.
22 Deutschmark, bitte.
Here, keep the change.
Danke. Vielen Danke.
That black car, that's the one that just passed us?
Jawohl, that one.
Okay, thanks. On your way, pal. Well, the black car's pulled up ahead now. So he's carrying the ball. Let's see which way he runs with it. Young guy getting out. Looking back this way. He don't look Russian, that's for sure. Or German. He's walking straight towards me. Should be kind of interesting. But interesting for whom?
Good morning, Mr. Parker.
That's right.
My name's Smithers, Consular Corps, Princess Embassy. I wonder if you'd mind coming with me.
Where to?
Why, the embassy, Mr. Parker.
What for?
Well, someone would like to have a word with you, that's all.
Who's this somebody?
Afraid I can't say.
Huh? And if I say no?
Well, you're perfectly at liberty not to, Mr. Parker. This is a request, not an order. I mean, you're hardly one of us, are you? We have no jurisdiction over Americans.
No threats, no guns, no strong-arm stuff.
Terribly melodramatic. No, nothing like that, I assure you.
I'm kind of disappointed.
You've probably been seeing too many American films about British intelligence agents. This way, Mr. Parker.
Come in.
Oh, good morning, sir. I brought Mr. Parker.
Thank you, Smithers. Please come in, Mr. Parker.
Well, that be all, sir?
Yes, thank you. I'm Colonel Mortimer, British Army, retired. Please sit down.
Thanks. What is all this, Colonel?
I'd like to have a word with you, that's all. Cigar?
No. Oh, no, thanks. I don't use them.
As you wish. You've just been over to the eastern sector, Mr. Parker. You visited Klaus Gunther at Gunther Fabriken. May I ask why?
Well, you're well informed. What's it got to do with you?
You've also been making inquiries about a man named Royce Weston. I'd like to know why you've been so interested in him, too.
You're asking a lot of questions, Colonel, but I'm not getting any answers.
Let me say this. Your inquiries could be very embarrassing to us. Very embarrassing indeed. They might also place a great many people in considerable danger.
Danger? Who? Gunther?
Among others. Now, will you kindly answer my question?
Oh, brother, I'm over here on a job, Colonel. I work for the Missing Persons Bureau in London. Our client is Mrs. Weston. She wants us to find her husband. I'm trying to do just that, okay?
I see. He will not find him, Mr. Parker. Weston is at present in the hands of our Russian friends. They arrested him on Monday as a British spy.
A spy? Weston's a spy?
No, he is not. But if the Russians claim he is, they can use him as a propaganda weapon. Nasty headlines in the press. We don't want that. Don't want it at all. So we're negotiating to have him returned at a price, I'm afraid. The price is a Russian gentleman in our custody who does happen to be a spy. Weston should be released tomorrow if our negotiations are successful. Until then, Mr. Parker, I would suggest that you return to London and report to the head of your bureau. He is a British subject, fortunately, so there shan't be any difficulty insofar as that's concerned.
I just don't get this. If Weston ain't a spy, well, what's all the bother about? Why not just hand over the story to the press and let them kick up a stink about it?
For the precise reason that we don't want to stink about it, Mr. Parker. The press has been instructed not to print the story, in fact. And Weston's employers have been instructed not to divulge any information about him. We have maintained Weston's occupancy at his hotel. On the surface of things, nothing out of the ordinary has taken place. And you, Mr. Parker, will very kindly do nothing to ruffle that surface. Understood?
You know something, Colonel? I don't believe you.
Indeed?
Yeah, indeed. The way I figure it, you are with some kind of intelligence outfit, and so is Weston. You let something slip just now about Gunther being in danger. Now, why should he be? If Weston was just a harmless businessman who's been used as a weapon by the Russians.
Very astute of you.
Then I'm right.
Whether or not you're right, Mr. Parker, is totally irrelevant. Our negotiations will take place. The exchange will be made. You will read nothing of it in the press, nor will it be publicized in any way. Even were you to open your mouths and shout from the rooftops, nobody would believe a word you said. So be a good chap, Parker. Run along. Remember what Hamlet said. There are stranger things under heaven and earth than are dreamed of in your philosophy. Sometimes it's better to let them remain that way.
Henry Simon returns to conclude this story in just a moment. You are listening to The Colgate Show, Address Unknown.
Two pretty girls, Jane and Sue, but only Sue gets.
Hey, Sue, how's it done? With Colgate, it's the only one. Brushing with Colgate makes good sense, gives me the ring of confidence.
The ring of confidence?
Yes, that's cleaner breath, cleaner taste, cleaner teeth.
Thanks to Gardol. Only Colgate Dental Cream contains Gardol to clean your breath instantly. Fights tooth decay all day.
Colgate Dental Cream with Gardol. It's new. It's Ajax 2.
New Ajax 2 with Oxalin Bleach. A washing powder so effective, it's guaranteed.
It's new. It's Ajax 2.
Look at my wash, so clean and white.
It's new. It's Ajax 2.
My sheets and towels have never looked so clean and white.
Get new Ajax 2 with Oxalin Bleach. A washing powder so effective, it's guaranteed.
And here again is Henry Simon.
That same evening, I received a telephone call from a very high-ranking member of the government. I was instructed to do nothing further in the search for Royce Weston, and that the matter would be cleared with Sandra Weston. Our fee was paid by the government, and the matter was closed with some finality. Was Royce Weston working for British intelligence? Did the exchange of spies take place? Your guess is as good as mine. It wasn't even something that one could read about in the newspapers. And now, as always, this is Henry Simon inviting you to meet me here again, and for the present, bidding you au revoir.
The Colgate Show, Address Unknown, is brought to you every Saturday by the makers of Colgate Dental Cream, Colgate Toothbrushes, Colgate Shampoo, Colgate Hairspray, and Colgate Talc. Listen again next Saturday evening at 7:30 when Henry Simon will introduce another story in the gripping and unusual series, The Colgate Show, Address Unknown.
This is Henry Simon, bringing you another story from my files here at the Missing Persons Bureau.
In these stories of the Missing Persons Bureau, dramatized for Henry Simon by Ross Napier, names and addresses have, for obvious reasons, been changed. In one moment, the search for James Rothwell Sutherland. Address unknown. And here again is Henry Simon.
The staccato clatter of machine gun fire broke the stillness of the dawn. Everywhere, khaki-clad men dived for cover, flattening themselves upon the desert sand as a deadly hail of lead combed the area. A second machine gun opened fire, but they were sitting ducks, 30 British soldiers behind the enemy lines. Caught unawares, they had very little or no chance indeed to fight back. Of their 3 trucks, the first in line exploded with a roar. Then the second, and 17 men lay dead where they had fallen. Then it happened. From under cover of the remaining truck, a man emerged, the top half of his body bare, his left leg spurting blood from 2 separate wounds. Stumbling, staggering, he ran blindly in the direction of the first machine gun, miraculously surviving its lethal blast. 30 yards away, he pulled the firing pin out of a grenade, flinging it hard and high. The first machine gun spoke no more. And with not a moment's hesitation, the bleeding figure charged the second. It was over almost before it had begun. All was still again, as the lone one turned his back upon the silent guns and abruptly fell face downwards in the sand.
Yes? You sent for me, Major?
Yes. Come in, Lieutenant. Sit down, sit down.
Thank you, sir.
Well, how is he?
He'll pull through.
Fine. And the leg?
It's been removed. There was no hope of saving it. Completely shot to pieces. How he kept on as long as he did, I'll never know.
A very brave young man.
I've never seen a braver one, sir. Without any doubt, he saved the lives of 12 men, mine included.
At the same time, putting 2 machine guns out of action?
If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I'd never have believed it possible. He ran straight at them, sir, directly into their fire. It's a miracle he's alive to tell the story. A miracle and nothing less.
He'll be cited, of course.
To my way of thinking, there's no medal big enough.
There is one, perhaps. I'm recommending him for the Victoria Cross.
Thus did Corporal James Rothwell Sutherland attain the undisputed but coveted status of hero. Invalided home minus a leg, he was duly summoned to Buckingham Palace, where the Victoria Cross was pinned to his chest by the King. His feat was graphically described in the newspapers, and for a brief period in those dark days of war, he became a celebrity. Indeed, it is said that he was accorded more tributes and feted more lavishly than any VC winner before or since. It was, therefore, not very surprising, if I remember his name so well, when it was brought to my attention some 6 years later, in the August of 1948, by a caption in the Daily Chronicle. VC winner disappears.
Morning, Chief.
Oh, good morning, Sully. You're in bright and early.
Yeah, I figured it was time I tried catching the worm. What's new?
I was just reading about this fellow Sutherland.
Who?
James Rothwell Sutherland, VC. One of our war heroes.
Oh, yeah? Well, what about him?
Seems he's disappeared. There's an article about him here.
Hey, wasn't he the one who lost the leg?
In North Africa, yes. He stormed a couple of machine gun posts. Single-handed.
Yeah. I seem to remember hearing people speak about him.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd he disappear from?
His home, apparently. He was living with his parents up in Coventry.
Not married?
Well, there's no mention here of a wife.
How long's he been gone?
My dear Study, you remind me of myself interviewing a client. Here.
Oh, so. Yeah, 7 months, huh? Father's appealing for anyone who's seen or heard of him to come forward. Looks like a job for us. Maybe we ought to offer our services.
We've got more than enough jobs in our hands as it is. Not canvassing for more. It reminds me, you promised to let me have that Matheson report this morning.
Oh, yes, so I did. I've got it drafted. I'll get Pauline to type it out.
After putting the newspaper aside, I duly forgot all about James Rothwell Sutherland and his reported disappearance, until a week later, when I was given very good cause to recall it. Yes?
Mr. Simon?
Yes?
Please forgive the intrusion. There was no one in the outer office, and I saw your name on the door.
My secretary's at lunch.
Oh, well, I wonder if you'd be so kind as to spare me a few minutes.
Certainly. Sit down, won't you?
I'll just close the door.
Oh, thank you.
Sutherland's my name, Frank Sutherland. I'm here about my son, Mr. Simon. You may have heard of him. James Rothwell Sutherland. He was a VC winner in the last war.
Tall and grey-haired, with straight, broad shoulders, Frank Sutherland then went on to verify the newspaper account of his son's disappearance, a grave frown clouding his well-shaped features.
Apart from his 2 years in the army, he lived at home all his life with his mother and myself. He was an only child.
He's not married, is he?
No, no.
Did he have a job of any kind?
Well, his ambition was to be a composer.
Of music?
Yes, he wrote a little poetry. No doubt you think it's strange that a war hero should be interested in the gentler arts?
Not at all. Though I must admit I've never actually pictured him as a poet.
Well, it comes as a surprise to most people when they hear, those who don't know him, that is. However, he's never shown himself to be unduly gifted either as a composer or as a poet. He did write a few verses for some magazine or other. They sold 2 of his compositions to an American advertising firm, but other than that, he's had very little luck.
Has he no other occupation?
No. Being a moderately wealthy man, he doesn't really need one. His grandmother left him quite a large sum when she died, most of which he's since invested quite wisely, as it happens.
I see.
The fact is, Mr. Simon, we're very concerned about him, his mother and I. It's almost 8 months now since he left home, and we've not heard a word from him.
What were the circumstances of his departure exactly?
Well, he said he was coming down to London. That was on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
He was to return on the Monday.
But he didn't, eh?
No.
What did he come to London for?
Well, he didn't say. We assume he had ideas of trying to sell some of his work.
Just how close was he to you and his mother?
Oh, well, we thought the world of him, naturally, but it's difficult to put into words. One never quite knows what he was thinking or feeling. He didn't believe in discussing his problems with us or with anyone else, for that matter.
Tell me, did his war experiences affect him at all? Apart, of course, from the loss of his leg.
They didn't appear to, no, but the publicity he received certainly did.
Oh? In what way?
Well, for some reason, he didn't seem to want to be a hero. He gave the impression that he found the role an embarrassing one.
Embarrassing?
As for all the fuss that was made of him, well, he endured it, but that's about all. One stage, there was talk of erecting a statue in his honor. He wouldn't hear of it. I've never seen him so emphatic about anything. He's an odd boy. I can't tell you what a shock I got when I heard of his bravery. He was the last person I expected to distinguish himself in battle. What I mean is, by nature, he's always been so meek and mild. The thought of him charging 2 German machine gun nests, wiping them out, well, for long enough I simply wouldn't believe it. But there can be no doubting the fact that he did just that. There were 12 witnesses, including Lieutenant Charlton, one of his officers.
It's often at times of great stress, you know, that people reveal their true selves.
Oh, true.
Did he have many friends?
Not really, no. He's always kept pretty much to himself.
Romantic interests?
Oh, the only girl he ever displayed any interest in at all was Judith.
Judith?
Judith Barry. She lived next door to us. Still does, for that matter. They were seeing quite a deal of each other at one time.
Was there ever any talk of marriage between them?
Well, it was more or less assumed that they would marry eventually.
Assumed? By whom?
By both families.
Were they keeping company up until the time of his disappearance?
Off and on, yes. They go to the cinema once or twice a week and occasionally to a dance.
And he gave her no indication at all that he was going away?
No more indication than he gave anyone else. She was quite put out about it, for which I couldn't blame her. I think she rather took it for granted that they'd be married too, although I'm almost certain he never broached the subject with her.
Were they friendly before the war?
They've known each other since they were at school. While he was away, they corresponded quite regularly.
How old is Miss Barry?
25, 26.
And your son?
29.
Did he know anyone in London? Was there anyone in particular he might have contacted?
Oh, no one I can think of. Unless...
Yes?
Well, about 3 months before he left, Ron Charlton came to see him.
Ron Charlton?
The officer I spoke of, the one who was with him when he lost his leg.
Oh, yes. What was the purpose of his visit?
Well, he was passing through and stopped by to say hello. I remember him telling James if ever there was anything he could do to help him anyway, not to hesitate to let him know.
I see. You wouldn't know where he could be contacted?
I'm afraid not. Curiously, till now, I never really gave him much thought.
Oh, I dare say I can find out from military headquarters. A lieutenant, did you say he was?
Yes, I believe he was later promoted to captain.
Captain Ron Charlton. Fine. Well, no sense in delaying it. I'll phone them right away. At military headquarters, I spoke to Major Ralph Thomas, who had rendered us invaluable assistance in the past and who, on this occasion, was swift to come up with the information we required. Namely, that the former Captain Sheldon was residing at an address in Braithwaite Road, Claxton. Accordingly, I instructed Studdy, who later that same afternoon was redirected by Charlton's wife to an office in the city, where he was employed as an accountant.
That's right, Mr. Studdy. We were cut off behind the Jerry lines, 30 of us. I was in command, and as it was, we lost 17 men. But if it hadn't been for Sutherland, we'd have all been wiped out.
Uh-huh. Apart from that one incident, what kind of a soldier was he, generally speaking?
Oh, that's the astonishing part of it.
Yeah?
Up to that time, I'd always regarded him as the world's worst.
Henry Simon returns to continue this story in just a moment. Here again is Henry Simon.
Despite the fact that our investigation was barely underway, we'd unearthed some surprising information regarding James Rothwell Sutherland, V.C. In his father's words, he was anything but the heroic type, and as described by his former superior, a very poor soldier.
I don't quite get it, sir. Could you maybe elaborate a little?
There are 3 types of soldier, Mr. Studdy. The born soldier, who makes a business of fighting and loves it. The motivated soldier, who fights for something he believes in and makes the best of it. And the unmotivated soldier, who dons a uniform and takes up a gun because circumstances force him to. Sutherland belonged to that group. He was a soldier without incentive, a soldier who was never sure what he was fighting for and who really didn't care.
But he must have cared some to do what he did.
At that crucial moment, something obviously happened to make him care. What that something was, I wouldn't know, and I very much doubt if he does himself. I only know that it saved 12 lives, mine among them.
I understand you paid him a visit at his parents' home some time ago.
I was passing through Coventry on my way to Birmingham. I dropped in to pay my respects.
According to his father, you told him if there was ever anything you could do for him, you'd be only too happy to oblige?
That's right.
He didn't take advantage of the offer?
He hasn't to date, no. As I said, I haven't heard from him.
After taking his leave of Charlton, Studdy went direct to Euston Station, where he boarded a train for Coventry. On his arrival, at a few minutes past 6 that evening, he proceeded to number 57 Argyle Street, the home of Judith Barry, which adjoined that of our client. A neat brick bungalow painted white, with a cement path leading from the gate to the front door. In answer to his ring, the door was opened by a plumpish, middle-aged woman, who ushered him into a tastefully furnished living room, where he was joined a few moments later by the young lady in question, a slim, attractive brunette.
Mother tells me you're here about Jim.
Yes, that's right. There are just a few points I'd like to check with you.
Well, I'm afraid there's very little I can tell you about him. He didn't bother taking me into his confidence. Not that there was any reason why he should have, but... well, we were quite friendly for some time.
Before leaving, he gave you no indication at all that he wasn't planning to return?
None.
He didn't say why he was going to London?
No.
Did you see him before he went?
I went to the train with him.
Uh-huh. Well, how'd he seem then?
Much the same as always. Quiet, thoughtful. He never had much to say for himself.
Did you have any form of understanding with him?
Understanding?
Regarding the future.
If you mean, were we planning to be married? No, we weren't.
In other words, you enjoyed a purely platonic relationship.
It might have been described as that, yes.
Why?
I beg your pardon.
Well, believe me, Miss Barry, I'm not being personal just for the sake of it. I'm trying to get a picture of what the guy was like, what made him tick, you know?
Well, I don't care for your chances. I tried hard enough myself, but it didn't get me very far. I knew him for years, and yet in so many ways he was a complete stranger to me. quite impossible to understand.
He wrote to you regularly while he was in the army?
Every few weeks.
Well, to have done that, surely he must have thought of you a good deal.
Oh, he thought of me, all right. But that's as far as it went.
You're quite sure he did go to London?
I told you I saw him on the train.
But that's not to say he didn't get off somewhere en route.
Well, no, but why should he?
Why should he disappear, yeah. Well, he could have had some plan in mind. Just said he was going to London to throw everybody off the track.
Oh, but that's ridiculous.
No more so than his not coming back.
Well, there's one sure way of finding out.
Yeah?
Mrs. McGraw was in the same carriage. I saw her getting in.
Mrs. McGraw?
The local chemist's wife.
Oh, was she a friend of his?
Not that I know of. For that matter, I'm barely acquainted with her myself. But she must have known him by sight. If he'd left the train before it got to London, she'd have seen him. That is, assuming she went as far as London.
You didn't check with her?
Well, it didn't occur to me. Till now, I never really thought about her.
Where can I reach her?
She and her husband live above the shop. It's just a couple of blocks along the street, next to the grocer's. The name's on the window, McGraw's Pharmacy. You can't miss it.
Sorry to bother you so late, Mrs. McGraw, but it's a matter of some urgency.
Oh, yes?
You're acquainted with the Sutherlands, are you?
Well, only to nod to.
Well, I guess you've heard about the son disappearing.
I did hear it left home, yes, but I couldn't tell you the details. I tried to keep myself apart from the neighborhood gossip as much as possible.
Well, in this case, it's a bit more than gossip. But letting that pass for the moment, I understand you took a trip early this year.
Trip?
Yes, to London. That is, you caught the London train.
Oh, yes, I went down to spend a few days with my sister.
In London?
Yes, South Wimbledon.
Well, Jim Sutherland was on the same train, so I believe. Same carriage, in fact?
That's right. He was sitting in front of me.
You didn't speak to him at all?
No.
Did he go all the way, do you recall, or did he get out before you?
I've an idea he did. Yes, at Bantry.
Bantry?
The platform's so low there. I remember the porter had to help him down.
You're quite sure it was Bantry?
Certain. It was the last stop before Sudbury.
Uh-huh. You didn't mention this to anybody?
I didn't see any cause to. There was nothing unusual in it.
Maybe not. Except that he hasn't been seen or heard of since.
After taking his leave of Mrs. McGraw, Studdy returned to 57 Argyle Road, where he again questioned Judith Barry, who expressed considerable surprise when he told her what he'd learned.
Bantry? But why on earth should he get off there?
Well, I was hoping maybe you could tell me.
Have you checked with his parents?
Not yet. I thought I'd try you first.
Well, I'm sorry. Apart from the fact that he spent a few months at a training camp there,
Training camp?
When he was first in the army. It was where they taught him to be a soldier.
Studdy was further enlightened by our client, Frank Sutherland, who informed him that whilst training at Bantry, his son had befriended a certain Kathleen Abbott, in whose company he had spent many of his leisure hours. Mrs. Abbott, it transpired, had been a voluntary worker at the barracks canteen, and together with her husband, had kept open house for quite a number of the Bantry trainees, Jim Sutherland included. He had mentioned her several times in his letters home, but to his parents' knowledge, after leaving Bantry, had had no further contact with her. Accordingly, Studdy set out to locate Kathleen Abbott, whom he had very little trouble in tracing to her home in Jersey Street, Bantry, not very far from the site of the old barracks, which had since been pulled down and replaced by a motor factory. An elderly white-haired woman, she greeted the agent cordially, pressing him to join her in a cup of tea.
I do hope it's strong enough for you, Mr. Studdy.
Oh, it's just fine, thanks, ma'am. But, reverting to the matter in question, has Sutherland been in touch with you at all during the past 8 months?
You say his parents are anxious about him?
Very.
You should have written to them. He promised me he would.
Then he has been here.
Jimmy and I are old friends, Mr. Studdy. When he was stationed at Bantry during the early part of the war, we had many long chats.
He was unhappy in the army, and I did what I could to cheer him up, to help him adjust himself, you might say. Then he was moved to another camp. For a while he wrote to me, but as time went on, we gradually lost touch. I didn't see or hear from him again till one morning last January. There was a ring at the door. I opened it, and there he was.
Go on.
The rest of the story is for him to tell.
Oh, fair enough, but where is he?
Right behind you, Mr. Study.
What?
Allow me to introduce myself. James Rothwell Sutherland, B.C.
Study blinked in bewilderment at the intruder. There could be no mistaking him from his photographs. The face with the deep-set eyes, the V-shaped scar on his left cheek. As he settled himself in a chair facing the agent, Mrs. Abbott rose, and excusing herself on the pretext that she had some work to do in the kitchen, left the room.
A wonderful woman, Mr. Study. I doubt if there'd be another person in the world who understands me a tenth as well as she does. Certainly not my parents or Judith Barry. They don't understand me at all. They never did.
Is that why you cleared out?
I cleared out because I was in a rut. My life had become a meaningless existence. Not that it was the fault of theirs. They did everything in their power to snap me out of it, to pull me together. Unfortunately, all they succeeded in doing was to make me totally dependent on them. Or almost. It's difficult to put into words. I just felt I had to get away from them for a while, find someone who could steer me back on a course.
So you settled for Mrs. Abbott, huh?
I had no intention of coming here to stay. Originally, I merely wanted to ask her advice, talk things over with her. And then, when the time came for me to leave, she suggested I stay on for a few days. That was over 7 months ago, and I'm still here.
It didn't occur to you to contact your parents or Miss Barry to let them know where you were?
I settled down to write to them 12 times, but somehow I could never find the right words to say. The truth of it is, I'm a misfit. I don't belong to their world or any other. In everything I've tried to do, I've been a failure. As a poet, a composer, even as a soldier.
That's not the way I heard it. I wouldn't know how you write as a poet or composer, but as a soldier, you're practically a living legend.
I'll let you in on a little secret, Mr. Study. You might find it amusing.
I'm all ears.
I joined the army because there was a war on, and I had no alternative. I hated it. I hated everything about it. I had no heart for fighting, no will. And then one day I woke up in hospital and discovered I was a hero. Or rather that I was being treated as one. In truth, I was anything but.
The records say you were. And so do the 12 men whose lives you saved.
No, they're quite wrong. I was hit in the leg. I crawled under a truck for cover, and that's all I remember. Next thing, I was in hospital, minus a leg.
You've got no recollection of what you did?
Not the slightest.
Well, you sure did it, that's for sure.
So I've heard. My one success. Funny thing.
What's funny?
Just that. I've never been able to make the grade at what I've wanted to do. All I've been able to do is be a hero.
Henry Simon returns to conclude this story in just a moment. Here again is Henry Simon.
I very much doubt if Kathleen Abbott or anyone else really understood James Rothwell Sutherland. He was a born enigma, unfathomable even to himself. He had a good home, devoted parents, and the love of a fine young woman. All a man could wish for, in fact. Yet he strove for the unattainable, for something he knew not what that lay beyond his grasp. In his own eyes, he was a failure, but to the world, he was a hero, a man among men. And a hero he'll remain, for just as long as the story of his valor is told. And now, as always, this is Henry Simon inviting you to meet me here again, and for the present, bidding you au revoir.
This is Henry Simon bringing you another story from my files here at the Missing Persons Bureau.
In these stories of the Missing Persons Bureau, dramatized for Henry Simon, names and addresses have, for obvious reasons, been changed. In one moment, the search for Helena Karadine. Address unknown. Address unknown. Brought to you by Colgate-Palmolive, makers of Colgate Dental Cream, Palmolive Shaving Cream, Ajax the Foaming Cleanser, and Super Fab with Wonder White. And here again is Henry Simon.
2 years ago it was, early May, a very bright sunny morning. As I'm accustomed, I got to the office early, before any other members of the staff. I was surprised to find that the door of my office was open. I entered, closing the door behind me.
Mr. Simon?
I was so surprised I started. I hadn't seen the man in the wing chair. I turned at the sound of his voice and saw a tall, good-looking figure in the act of rising. He was well-dressed, dark, a good head of hair. His face was lean. He was wearing an RAF tie and sunglasses. I knew his name was Karadine.
Good morning. Sorry to give you a fright like that.
Oh, how do you do, Mr. Karadine? You're early. Your appointment isn't till 9 o'clock.
Oh, I do hope you'll forgive me barging into your office like this. I'm very poor at killing time. I arrived early. I thought I'd wait here.
That's quite all right. Would you like to come and sit opposite me?
I find this chair very comfortable. If that's all right with you, Mr. Simon.
Of course. Do sit down. Now then, what's the trouble, Mr. Karadine?
It's my wife. She's disappeared.
Oh, dear, I'm sorry to hear that. Would you like to tell me the circumstances surrounding her disappearance?
Well, I'll tell you what I can, which is very little. It was 3 days ago. I got home from the office, and she's usually... silly of me, still using the present tense. She was usually, I should say, waiting for me. On Tuesday night, she wasn't. I thought at first she was late getting back from shopping or seeing friends, but the evening wore on, and Helena didn't turn up. I asked the staff if they knew where she was. Flippy, she's more like a member of the family than a servant, told me that Helena, that's my wife, had packed a bag earlier that afternoon.
And your wife didn't say where she was going?
No. And the funny thing is, her car was still in the garage.
You think if she'd been contemplating a long journey, she'd have taken the car?
No, if she'd been going anywhere, she'd have taken it, normally.
I see. Her disappearance is a complete mystery to you.
Absolutely.
You hadn't quarreled?
No.
The aftermath of a quarrel some time ago, perhaps?
I think not. We're very happily married.
And the fact that she packed some of her things has led you to believe that her disappearance is voluntary. You don't think she's been abducted or kidnapped?
If I thought she'd been taken away against her will, this would be a matter for the police.
Quite so. How long have you been married, Mr. Karadine?
I always have to think about this. Since 46, that's...
13 years?
Yes.
Happily, you say?
Mr. Simon, ours was an ideal marriage.
And you've no idea why your wife should suddenly leave home like that?
None.
Money troubles, perhaps?
Mr. Simon, I'm a very wealthy man. My wife had everything.
These questions have to be asked, Mr. Karadine. You understand that?
No, of course.
Another man, perhaps?
No.
How can you be so sure?
I know my wife.
But not well enough to know the reason for her disappearance. What about relatives, Mr. Karadine? Have you contacted your wife's family?
I have. They were both surprised and distressed to hear about what's happened.
I see. And your friends?
They know nothing. I've been into all that very thoroughly. Ran into a brick wall. And, well, here I am.
What line of business are you in, Mr. Karadine?
I'm a factory owner. Plastics. Novaplas. May have heard of it.
Oh, yes. Anything from toothbrushes to household furnishings.
I started up after the war. My wife and I struggled together for a long time, but it was a worthwhile struggle. Now, this.
Did you meet your wife during the war?
Yes, I was injured during one of the last big daylight bombing raids on Berlin. I spent a long time in hospital. She was a nurse there. It's thanks to her that I've got what I have. There were times when I thought I was no good for anything anymore. It was she who gave me the courage to carry on fighting. I want her back, Mr. Simon, because what I've got is worth nothing without her.
I quite understand. Have you any children?
No, just Helen and myself.
Did you bring a picture with you?
No, I didn't.
Could you have one sent to me?
Well, it's going to be a little awkward. I don't believe we have any pictures.
No snapshots, wedding photographs?
Strange as it sounds, Mr. Simon, no.
Oh. Well, can you describe her for us?
Yes. She's about 5'6", slender, has long, silky hair, very smooth complexion, and extraordinarily long eyelashes.
A brunette, fair?
Brunette.
Colour of eyes?
Green. She's a very beautiful woman, Mr. Simon.
Well, it's not much to go on, Mr. Karadine. We'll do our best. Can I have your home address?
Certainly. 24 Abbey Road, St. John's Wood. And if you want to contact me by phone, you'll find us in the book. But I'll keep in close touch with you.
You've tried the relatives, you've called your friends. Isn't it possible that they may be hiding her?
For what reason, Mr. Simon?
I don't know. But in this business, Mr. Karadine, we come across some very curious things. I think you'd better give me the addresses of family and your immediate circle of friends. Having done so, John Karadine left. I summed up what I'd learnt from him. It was distressingly meagre, as I pointed out to Agent Paul Studdy.
Yeah, she could be anywhere. I wonder if she's left the country.
Why do you say that?
Oh, a rich dame. Maybe took it into her head to visit the south of France, Costa Brava.
In May, start of the English summer.
Yeah, you got a point there. Still won't be any harm checking with the immigration authorities.
Well, I'll do that for you.
Well, I do what?
Yes, I see what you mean. Take your pick.
What was the servant's name again?
Karadine called her Flippy. Could be short for anything. Philippa, Miss Phillips.
Flippy. Well, maybe she knows more than she's telling. Anyway, we'll go dally a while with Flippy. I won't keep you long, just a few questions, you understand?
Yes.
Did Mrs. Karadine tell you where she was going?
No.
Did you help her pack?
Yes.
And what did she take?
A suit, 3 dresses, shoes, underwear, night things, and 1 or 2 odds and ends, souvenirs and whatnot.
Souvenirs?
Yes, little things she had on her dressing table. There was a clock set in shatterproof glass, from the early days, I think, when they started in business.
Mm-hmm. And what else?
Sounds a silly thing, I know, but there was a Mickey Mouse toothbrush holder.
Plastic?
Yes.
Go on, anything else?
Yes, Mr. Karadine's RAF identification tags. They used to hang on a bit of string on Mrs. Karadine's mirror. Ever so fond of them she was.
I see. When you helped her pack, did she say anything to you about where she was going and why?
I've been over this 100 times with Mr. Karadine. She rang for me. I walked in and saw her crying.
I want you to help me pack, Flippy.
Why, what on earth's the matter?
It's nothing you would understand. I'm going away.
Something's upsetting you. What is it?
I just got to get away, that's all. And I must go now. Don't ask me why.
But this is so unlike you. Does Mr. Karadine know you're going?
No. That's why I'm going now. Before he comes back.
Oh, it's none of my business, but you and he... Well, you're so happy together. Why do you want to run away?
Because I've got to. Oh, don't ask me any more, Flippy.
Can't I make you change your mind?
No. This is the way it's to be.
But Mr. Karadine's going to be awfully upset. You're going off like this. This will hurt him terribly.
Yes. But the hurt would be much more if I stayed. Now, be a good girl and get me that soft-topped suitcase and hurry.
She cried like a baby when she left the house. I didn't know what to do. You see, it wasn't really any of my business. I mean, I'm only an employee here. I was in 2 minds whether to phone Mr. Karadine or not, but it would have been useless because by this time she'd have gone anyway. I was terrified of him coming home. I dreaded having to tell him.
Mm-hmm. And you say they were happy together?
Terribly. It's like I wanted to be for me when I get married.
Did she walk, take a cab, or take a bus?
Taxi from the corner. There's a rank there.
Hmm. Well, thanks, Phyllis.
Call me Flippy. Everybody else does.
Okay, Flippy. I better be going. Got a lot to do.
You will find her, won't you?
If I have to knock myself out in the process.
Well, that rules out the question of another man. If a woman's running off with her lover, she certainly wouldn't take things of sentimental value with her. Things like the clock, the toothbrush stand, and the identification tags.
I don't know. Women are strange creatures, you know, Chief, capable of some very funny things. How'd you make out with immigration?
Well, unless she's stowed away, she's still in the British Isles.
Somewhere among 60 million people. Never mind, I got a good lead from the fact that she took a taxi from the Rankin Abbey Road. That's my next move. Comb the taxi people.
Studdy spent the rest of that day on the phone, fruitlessly. It was about 11 the next morning by the time he'd ascertained which cabs were on the rank at the time of Mrs. Karadine's disappearance. He eventually found the man he was looking for and arranged to meet him at a Café de Mouvon, a coffee cart on wheels in Euston Road, which catered for taxi drivers such as Mr. Ronald Baines.
Make a nice cuppa here.
Yeah. Tell me, Mr. Baines, you were on the Rankin Abbey Road, St. John's Wood 4 days ago.
That's right.
You've been told that I'm looking for a woman you had as a fare. Picked her up about 4 o'clock or thereabouts.
That's right. So?
You remember then?
Oh, never forget a fare, especially if the tip's right.
Oh, I get it. Cross my palm with folding money, eh?
Oh, I didn't say that, but I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
Oh, Tar, what do you want to know?
Now, wait a minute, not so fast. The woman I'm looking for is...
I know. Crying her eyes out she was. Got a soft-top suitcase with her, in a terrible state. I watched her walk towards the rank in me driving mirror. Where to, lady? Lady?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes?
Where to?
Oh, dear. Take me to the station.
Waterloo, King's Cross, Euston, Paddington, Victoria?
Euston. Yes, take me to Euston.
Anything else?
Did she say anything apart from what you've told me?
Oh, not another word, except to thank me. Oh, she was upset about something, all right. Very touching. Gave me a nice tip, though.
Yeah, from a financial point of view, you're very touching yourself.
Euston serves the west and northwest of England and also provides access to Northern Ireland.
Ireland?
Yes, the boat train from Liverpool. Oh, before I forget, Flippy phoned.
The Karadine soon. What does she want?
I don't know. I didn't speak to her. But apparently it's rather urgent. You'd better phone her right away. Here.
Thanks. What's the address of Mrs. Karadine's family?
They live in Chester.
Is Euston the station for Chester?
Yes.
Maidavale, 9632.
Flippy?
Speaking.
Fall Study, Missing Persons Bureau. Something come up?
I don't know, really. It may be nothing at all.
Well, come on, let's have it.
It's the calendar on Mrs. Karadine's dressing table. There's a ring round tomorrow's date in pencil. A thick black ring. And a name. Renishaw. I hadn't noticed it before.
R-E-N...
I-S-H-A-W.
W, thanks. Does it mean anything to you? I mean, who's Renishaw?
Or maybe it's a place. I don't know.
Mr. Karadine home?
No, he's at the works.
All right, Flippy, and thank you.
I hope it helps. Bye.
Well, Study?
Does the name Renishaw ring a bell with you?
Not at all.
Well, do me a favor, Chief. While I'm out, check on it for me. Could be a person or a place name.
Where are you going?
The Novoplast factory. Going to see how Mr. John Karadine makes all his money.
The site of the Novoplast factory was at Brentford, not far from London Airport. It was an ultra-modern place, laid out in lawns and gardens, and the buildings were neat and compact. Study was ushered into the presence of the managing director, John Karadine.
Sit down, Mr. Study.
Thanks. Well, I'll get straight to the point. We've managed to trace your wife's movements as far as Euston Station. She took a cab there from the street outside your home. Any idea where she'd go from there?
Euston.
Her parents, maybe? Chester?
No, I checked there before coming to see you people.
Where, then? Do you mind if I smoke?
Oh, I don't know. No, go ahead.
For you?
No, thank you. I'll smoke one of these.
Light?
No, it's all right. I've got my own lighter here. Somewhere.
I'll use mine. Go on, take a light. Well, what are you waiting for? The flame's over here, Mr. Karadine. But you can't see it, can you? You're blind.
Henry Simon returns to continue the story in just a moment. You are listening to Address Unknown, presented by Colgate-Palmolive. And here again is Henry Simon.
John Karadine had fumbled for his lighter and failed to find it. He couldn't continue to ignore the light being offered to him by Studdy. He leaned forward expectantly, the cigarette in his mouth. But he'd turned in the wrong direction. The truth dawned on Studdy as he saw twin flames in the lenses of Karadine's dark glasses, which we'd mistaken for sunglasses.
Yeah, things fall into place now. Your early arrival at our offices before any of the staff, so that you could feel your way around, find a chair. And your description of your wife. Silky hair, smooth complexion, long eyelashes. All the things you knew by the sense of touch.
It's quite enough, Mr. Studdy. Now, please go.
Yeah, but why keep it such a secret?
I said, please go.
Why hide your disability?
Get out!
And why was he so angry? Strange. But what you've discovered also explains why he had no photos of Mrs. Karadine.
Yeah, a blind man has no use for photographs. Do you think we've lost a client?
No, I don't. Just because you stumbled across his secret, it doesn't follow that he doesn't want us to find his wife.
I didn't get around to asking him about Renishaw and the possible significance of tomorrow's date.
Well, here's a list of Renishaws transcribed from all the directories.
Thanks, Chief.
And these are the places. Villages in Wiltshire, Kirkcudbrightshire, and Dorset.
Hey, now, wait a minute. Look at this. Renishaw, Sir Charles, eye specialist, 53 Wimpole Street. Now, this has possibilities.
Yes, could be worth your while. It's a logical tie-up. Blind man, eye specialist. But all self-respecting physicians have shut up shop by this time.
Okay, I'll make Wimpole Street my first call tomorrow.
Is that all?
Is that all what?
You missed a golden opportunity for a crack. At the expense of the Barretts and Robert Browning. I think Studdy was disappointed to find that Sir Charles Renishaw sported neither mutton chop whiskers nor a stiff wing collar and cravat. He was a youngish man, intrigued by the visit of the agent from the Missing Persons Bureau.
Most distressing. A lovely woman. I can't understand it.
Well, if the Karadine servant hadn't been so sharp, I wouldn't be here.
Go on, Mr. Studdy.
Well, there's a heavy black ring around today's date on Mrs. Karadine's dressing table calendar. There's also your name, Renishaw. Can you offer any explanation for that?
Yes, I can. Today I have an appointment with John Karadine at a nursing home. He's to undergo the last of a series of 3 operations. I'm going to perform the operation.
Oh, I see.
John Karadine has every chance of recovering his sight. You know he was blinded during the war. His aircraft was very badly shot about, and so was he. Flak exploded directly beneath the cockpit. He was so badly injured and shocked that the pupils of his eyes dilated to an extraordinary degree. A most unusual case. The purpose of the operations is to cause the pupils to contract back to their normal size. As I say, today's operation has everything in its favor. The 2 previous ops went according to plan, and today we hope that John Karadine will be able to see.
Do you mean he'll be able to see today?
Oh, no, Mr. Studdy. His eyes will be bandaged for quite some time. But when we remove the bandages, well...
I see. Tell me, Sir Charles, where did Karadine convalesce during the war? I mean, after he was shot up?
St. Dunstan's, Lytham, St. Anne's, Lancashire. Helena Karadine was a nurse there.
And she nursed him, looked after him?
Yes.
And why does John Karadine go to such lengths to hide the fact that he's blind?
You know he's a self-made man. Very strong personality. Well, he's also terribly proud and extremely independent. For example, he wouldn't use a stick and scoffed at the idea of having a guide dog. He was determined that his sight would come back to him. It's a sort of mental block. You see, in his own mind, he's not really blind. He's never really accepted his blindness. He wouldn't admit that it was a handicap.
Well, wasn't that dangerous? I mean, a blind man can't go running around like people who have their sight.
Ah, but that's where Helena came in. She was his eyes. In the early days, before he got so independent, she did everything for him, took him everywhere. Nowadays, of course, now that he's a wealthy businessman, he has a chauffeur who drives him from place to place and gets around much more easily.
I see. Now, they were married in 1946. That'd be after or during his convalescence.
Yes. Well, the ideal couple, I'd say. Mrs. Karadine has an extraordinary capacity for understanding her man. He's a difficult man, make no mistake. He even rouses me on occasions.
Yeah, but the Karadine servant says that their home life was particularly happy.
I can well believe it. Karadine adores Helena, and she adores him.
Why should she suddenly take off like that, without telling anybody where she's going or why?
That, Mr. Studdy, is a question I'm afraid I can't answer. I don't know, I'm sorry.
And the operation's today. And when do you think the bandages will come off?
Oh, I should think in about 10 days' time, about the 26th.
And do you think Karadine will be able to see?
If all goes well, yes.
Well, the next thing I suggest is that you check on relatives and friends. They may be hiding her.
Okay, Chief. I'll keep you posted.
I didn't hear from Studdy for almost a week. During his absence, I contacted Sir Charles Renishaw to find out how Karadine's operation had gone. I was told that it went according to plan. I was getting anxious about Studdy when he phoned.
Look, Chief, I'm in a terrible hurry. I'm at Euston Station. I've got a train to catch. It leaves any minute. I've checked on all the relatives, mother and father, aunts and uncles, the works. And I've been through the complete list of the Karadine's close friends. I've just had me a great idea.
Well, tell me about it. Where are you going?
Sorry, Chief, got to run. There goes my train.
Oh, dear. This time, Studdy was away for a further 2 days. There was no phone call, no telegram, no indication whatsoever of his whereabouts. And then in the early afternoon of the 9th day, he burst into my office.
Hello, Chief.
Where on earth have you been to get a tan like that? The south of France?
No, Lytham St. Anne's, a genteel seaside resort for the aged and sick people. There's a St. Dunstan's hospital there, too.
Look, Studdy, sit down and tell me quietly.
Okay.
I don't know what on earth you're talking about.
Well, the long and short of it is, I found Helena Karadine.
Where?
I just told you, St. Dunstan's, Lytham St. Anne's. She was working there as a nurse.
What stroke of genius took you to Lytham St. Anne's?
Well, during my routine checking, I found myself in the vicinity of Euston Station. You know the travel posters outside?
Yes, go on.
Well, there was one for Blackpool, the Tower, Circus, Fun and Frolics, and right next to it, there was another poster. Quiet, sedate, advertising the leisure to be found at Lytham St. Anne's. The taxi driver dropped Mrs. Karadine at Euston. Lytham St. Anne's, Euston, St. Dunstan's. Get it? It was a chance worth following up, and it paid off.
Now, this is splendid news. Where is she?
She's outside.
Well, bring her in.
Okay, but prepare yourself for a shock.
Why, what's wrong?
You'll see. Will you come through, Mrs. Karadine? Mrs. Karadine, this is Henry Simon.
How do you do, Mr. Simon?
I hoped I didn't appear rude, but I was very taken aback. Karadine had described his wife as beautiful. Sir Charles Renishaw had called her a lovely woman. But she was plain. Very plain. Almost ugly.
Henry Simon returns to conclude the story in just a moment. You are listening to Address Unknown, brought to you by Colgate-Palmolive, makers of Colgate Dental Cream, Palmolive Soap, Ajax the Foaming Cleanser, and Super Fab with Wonder White. And here again is Henry Simon.
I quickly recovered from my shock, and Mrs. Karadine told us her story.
You see, Mr. Simon, my husband has never seen me. He thinks I'm a beautiful woman. While he was blind, I was safe, but the last of his operations was drawing close. I was afraid. Well, don't misunderstand me. I was happy for my husband. I knew how he longed for his sight. But I was afraid of the sight of myself. I panicked, having nursed my fear for a long time, and ran. It was only in the taxi that I decided to go back to nursing. But Mr. Studdy here persuaded me to return to London. I realized that I can't run away from this thing all my life. that's all.
I think you're a very brave woman, Mrs. Karadine. I suggest we make an arrangement for you to see your husband tomorrow. That's when Sir Charles is removing the bandages. I put the proposition to Sir Charles Renishaw, and he agreed to the meeting. Studdy and I accompanied Mrs. Karadine to the clinic in Harley Street, where we were met by Sir Charles.
Ready, Mrs. Karadine?
Yes. Can he see?
Yes, he can.
Thank you.
A visitor for you, Mr. Karadine.
Helena.
Oh, my dear.
Sir Charles Renishaw smiled and closed the door on the couple. And now, as always, this is Henry Simon inviting you to meet me here again, and for the present, bidding you au revoir.
Colgate-Palmolive invites you to listen next Friday evening at 8 o'clock when Henry Simon will introduce another story in their gripping and unusual series, Address Unknown. In one moment, the search for Gwen Moxon. Address Unknown. Address Unknown, brought to you by Colgate-Palmolive, makers of Colgate Dental Cream, Palmolive Shaving Cream, Ajax the Foaming Cleanser, and Super Fab with Wonder White. And here again is Henry Simon.
One of the strangest cases the Missing Persons Bureau ever handled started one afternoon in March '57. At the time, it was thought the winter was over, but a sudden cold snap brought out the gloves, the overcoats, and mufflers. It so happened I wasn't busy on the afternoon in question, so I was able to see a client who hadn't made an appointment, who'd suddenly turned up at my office. What's that? Moxon? Yes, all right, send him in. My secretary ushered Clifford Moxon through the door and left him standing there just inside the room. He was small, about 50, dapper, and his eyes were very bright and alert. Peeping out from behind his turned-up raincoat collar, I could see a blue and white striped shirt with a collar of plain white.
Good afternoon.
Oh, come in, Mr. Moxon, come in. Come and sit down.
Thank you. I've been trying to make up my mind for days whether to come and see you or not.
And here you are.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Your hands are cold. Let me pull this heater a little closer to your chair. Here we are.
Thank you, Mr. Simon.
I didn't realize it was so cold. Now then, how can I help you?
Actually, I've been putting this thing off for far too long, now that I think about it. It's 4 months now. 4 long months. My wife, Gwen, suddenly left me. I've been hoping she'd come back, but she hasn't. I want her back. She'd been threatening to leave me for years, and finally she went. I want to settle our differences, a reconciliation. She's an impossible woman, but I find I can't live without her.
Has she contacted you since she left?
Not a word.
I see. What was the date of your wife's departure from home?
November it was, the 26th.
She's never indulged in this sort of thing before?
No, never. But she threatened to divorce me.
Oh, on what grounds?
Purely imaginary ones. I'm afraid my wife's very neurotic. Convinced I was carrying on with other women. She was always accusing me of it.
Oh, go on, Mr. Moxon.
She suffers terribly from anxiety and depression, out of all proportion.
Oh, dear. She sounds like a very troubled woman.
I'm very worried about her, Mr. Simon.
Yes, I'm sure you are. But tell me, why did you leave it so long before seeking help?
Well, I told you I hoped she might return. I've tried to find her, but eventually I realized, after turning the problem over and over in my mind, that I didn't have a chance of finding her without professional assistance.
You've tried your wife's family?
Oh, Gwen was an only child and her parents are dead.
Other relatives?
No, there's none. I think that accounts for some of her insecurity.
Did your wife work?
She had a job, but it became too much for her, so she said. I think she lost interest. No, she stayed at home.
And her friends?
My wife kept herself very much to herself, Mr. Simon. She had no liking for or trust in anyone.
What about money? What's she keeping herself on?
Well, perhaps she's gone back to teaching.
A teacher? When she talked of leaving you on previous occasions, did she ever say where she'd go?
No.
And on this occasion, had you quarreled?
Oh, yes. Very badly, I'm afraid. She was sulking with me when I went to work. I returned home in the evening, and she'd gone.
Taking her things with her?
Clothing and possessions, the lot.
What about your neighbours? Did one of them see her leaving, perhaps?
Well, I haven't been able to find anyone who saw her.
I see. What's your address, Mr. Moxon?
Paddington. Craven Hill, number 129.
Paddington.
I brought this.
Thank you. Mrs. Moxon?
Yes. A very good photograph, really. You'll let me have it back, won't you?
Of course. After we found her for you.
Thank you.
Where can we contact you during the day?
Smithfield Meat Market, United Distributors. I'm a foreman checker in the cooling sheds.
After Clifford Moxon's departure, I tried to contact Agent Bob Hunter, but he was away in Scotland busy on another case. I'd no alternative but to recall Agent Paul's study from his holiday, which I reluctantly did.
A bit of a come-down Madeira to Smithfield Meat Market.
Still upset?
Wouldn't you be? But forget it. I can go back when the job's finished. Now, come on, let's recap.
Well, that won't take long, I'm afraid. The only concrete lead we've got is the photograph.
Moxon must be nuts wanting a dame like this back again.
She looks all right.
Yeah, but you can't judge a book by its cover.
How right you are.
Now, the thing I'd plump for is the teaching angle. If that's what she knows, maybe she's taking it up again now that she has to support herself.
Well, I'll handle that for you. The education authorities and the teachers' union.
Now, watch yourself, Chief. Teachers are usually miss, you know. Maybe she's using her maiden name.
Now, I'll get that from Moxon. You know, he said that during his own checking, he hadn't come across a neighbor who saw her leaving. What do you think?
Well, did he try them all?
He didn't say.
Well, I'll go take a look-see. Perhaps Mr. Moxon used the wrong approach.
Craven Hill, Paddington, is the extension of Praed Street. The houses are in long four-story terraces, divided up into flats. Study checked first at 127 and 131, the houses on either side of Moxon's residence. The occupants had seen and heard nothing. Study decided to try 129, question the other tenants. Alan Brett was an out-of-work actor with rooms in the basement.
Sorry the place is such a mess. Haven't been up long. Couldn't face traipsing round the agents this morning. I'm going to call at the Labour Exchange after lunch. Get my card stamped.
That's okay. Don't apologize.
Oh, sit down. If you can find somewhere to sit. Oh, just let me move the frying pan.
No.
There.
Thanks.
Now then, the Moxons.
That's right. You know Mrs. Moxon has left her husband.
I thought as much. Been some months now, hasn't it?
That's right. November last year. Did you see her leave?
No, I didn't, actually. But from all accounts, she was a real so-and-so. Gave the old chap a rough time. Poor devil.
Did you know her?
No, never met her. Used to hear them quarrelling, though. Terrible din. Then she waltzed out, and it's been quiet ever since. You don't mean to say Moxon wants her back?
Well, that's a general idea. That's why we're looking for her.
He must be balmy. Doesn't know when he's well off.
Yeah. Love's a funny thing. You say you never met her?
That's right. Not that I'm sorry. Never introduced, that's all. Never had occasion to be.
But you saw her?
Oh, yes. Coming and going. I can see them all from this window here.
Okay, Mr. Brett, I'll be shoving off.
Sorry I wasn't able to be of more help.
That's okay. Just have to try somewhere else. But I don't know where. And what about the other people in the house?
Shouldn't think they'll be able to tell you any more than I have. You see, they haven't been here long before Mrs. Moxon left him.
Oh? How long?
Few days, that's all.
Well, just long enough for people to notice what a vixen she was, huh?
Well, you know how nosy some people are. Actually, I got the whole story from Mrs. Cowie on the 3rd. An old busybody if ever there was one.
I suppose everybody's glad Mrs. Moxon went.
Well, it's a lot quieter, and we feel the old boy is better without her.
I see. Well, I guess I'll gallop up to the 3rd floor and see this Mrs. Cowie. Thanks, Mr. Brett.
Pleasure. Oh, if you hear of any stage work, you might remember me.
Well, we don't mix very much in theatrical circles, but from time to time we find ourselves confronted with some pantomimes.
Study consulted Mrs. Cowie and learnt nothing more than Alan Brett had already told him. He was very despondent when he returned to my office. Something else to add to your worries. I checked with Mr. Moxon about his wife's maiden name and in turn checked the education people. She's not working as a teacher and hasn't done so for about 5 years.
You think it's worth trying the Moxon's old address?
You haven't got much choice, have you? It's a natural follow-up.
Can I use your phone, Chief? Phone Moxon.
I wouldn't do that if I were you. He's probably not in the office. He wasn't when I phoned. They had to fetch him from the sheds. Go over there. You've got time. Smithfield Market, the site of the famous Bartholomew Fair, is today a great meat exchange serving the whole of the British Isles. One of the biggest agencies is United Distributors. Studdy had no difficulty in finding them, but then he had to find our client. Studdy wended his way among meat carcasses, porters, refrigerated trucks, and eventually found Mr. Moxon supervising the checking of a large consignment of meat which had arrived from Australia. In a large cooling shed it was.
Even colder in here than outside, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good job I brought my overcoat. How do you work in here?
Oh, this is nothing. It's even worse in the cold storage. 32 degrees of frost. But fortunately, we don't work in there very often. Now then, Mr. Studdy, any luck?
Not yet, I'm afraid. The reason I came to see you was to ask you for your old address, the place you lived before you moved to Paddington.
Oh, I don't see how that'll help.
Well, I thought maybe some of your old neighbors have seen her recently.
No, I'm afraid not. We were in Earl's Court before, but I've been there myself. No one's seen her.
Oh, dear. Another cul-de-sac, huh?
What will you do now?
Well, frankly, Mr. Moxon, I don't know. I just don't know.
And I don't know either. There's just nowhere to turn.
Well, she's got to be somewhere.
I checked with the passport office while you were out. She doesn't have a passport, so she can't have left the country.
That figures. Not enough money.
I wonder, what if she's suffering from amnesia?
Great, that's all we need. A neurotic woman who's lost her memory.
If you follow this up, you know what it means, don't you?
Yeah, blisters. Hospitals, sanatoria.
It wouldn't take long on the phone. I'll get one of the girls to do it.
And if we draw a blank?
Just a minute. About Mrs. Moxon, it's just occurred to me that she may be suffering from amnesia. May have been found wandering somewhere. Check with the police and the health authorities, will you? All right. What were you saying just now?
I asked what would we do if we drew a blank there.
Well, we have no other leads to follow. We'll have to resort to advertising, at Mr. Moxon's expense, of course.
Personal columns of the national papers?
That's right. My secretary's queries to the police and hospitals did draw a blank. So, without further ado, I drew up an advertisement which was inserted in the major daily newspapers. During the 5 days which elapsed, Studdy checked everything, not once but many times. We were sitting in my office looking very dejected, Studdy complaining about the holiday he'd abandoned.
And here I am, cold and frustrated. Nothing to show for more than a week's work. If that's another client, tell him we're closed for the season.
I have a Mrs. Wells on the line. She says it's in connection with your advertisement about Mrs. Moxon.
Put her through. An answer to our advert. Mrs. Wells mean anything to you?
Not a thing.
You're through? Hello? Mr. Simon?
Speaking.
I gather that you're looking for Mrs. Gwen Moxon.
Yes.
Who engaged you to look for her?
Her husband.
I see.
Do you know where she is?
I'm afraid not. But I think I should explain who I am. The Moxons consulted me. At least Mrs. Moxon did. I'm a psychologist, specializing in marriage guidance.
Yes, I understand their marriage wasn't particularly happy, but I fail to see why it was Mrs. Moxon who came to you. Wasn't it the other way about? Wasn't she the trouble?
Far from it, Mr. Simon. Far from it.
Henry Simon returns to continue the story in just a moment. You are listening to Address Unknown, presented by Colgate-Palmolive.
I wondered what on earth was coming next. I thought for a moment that Mrs. Wells and I were talking at cross purposes, but she went on to explain.
Mrs. Moxon came to the Marriage Guidance Bureau. Oh, it'll be nearly 5 months ago. She was terribly upset when she came to see me. She explained how she and her husband quarreled all the time. Told me what they quarreled about. There were all sorts of things. Mr. Moxon went on spending sprees far beyond his means. He was given to outbursts of temper. He lost interest in his job and his wife, and he had delusions that people were persecuting him. As you can imagine, all these things led to a very unhappy state of affairs in the Moxons' marriage. Mrs. Moxon was very wise in coming to see us. She took the right step.
This is very disturbing, Mrs. Wells, because when Mr. Moxon came to see me, he gave me the impression that his wife was all those things. Please go on.
I managed to get Mrs. Moxon's husband along to see me. He was very reluctant to come, and he made it clear that he thought my counselling was a waste of time. But I realized that Mr. Moxon was very disturbed mentally.
Neurotic?
I'm afraid not. Something far more serious. He's a psychotic.
I don't know much about this sort of thing, but isn't psychosis a severe form of mental illness?
Yes, it is. And unfortunately, even the families of psychotic sufferers don't always recognize the signs of the illness until something serious has happened. What brought about Mrs. Moxon's visit to us was the fact that her husband had refused to eat any food that she prepared.
Good gracious, why was that?
He accused her of trying to poison him. It was then that she realized there was something radically wrong.
What happened as a result of Moxon's visit to you?
Well, from my consultation, I knew that Clifford Moxon was in need of psychiatric help. I referred him to a psychiatrist who was a specialist in the field of marriage guidance. I think you'd better contact him.
Yes, I think we'd better. Where are his rooms?
200A Baker Street. And his name is Dr. Adams.
Mrs. Wells, I'm very grateful to you. Shall we let you know what transpires?
No, that won't be necessary, Mr. Simon. Dr. Adams will do that. It's lucky I saw your advertisement.
It is indeed. Studdy raised his eyebrows questioningly at me, so I told him the whole story. It was a strange turn of events, and it was to get much stranger. Studdy hurried along to Baker Street, having made an appointment to see Dr. Adams.
Oh, what's all this about, Mr. Studdy? Well, that's what I'm hoping to hear from you. What can you tell me about Clifford Moxon? Do you know where he is? Yes, but I'm looking for his wife. He asked the Missing Persons Bureau to find her. She left him 4 months ago in November last year. You're sure you know where he is? Well, sure, I'm sure. What gives with Moxon? Is he sick? He's very sick. He's a case of paranoid schizophrenia. He's what? It's a form of psychosis, Mr. Studdy. Very involved. Suffice it to say that Clifford Moxon had some very unhappy childhood experiences. And it's only now that Clifford Moxon has to face the fact that he's approaching old age, losing his vigor and so on, that his childhood difficulties have taken their toll. I see. But if what you say is true, and I'm sure it is, how come Moxon told us that his wife's sick? Mr. Studdy, Moxon's case is very complicated. So complicated that I started an analysis. A lengthy business which involves digging into the patient's subconscious mind to bring the real causes of his neurosis to the surface, and in this way rid himself of the damage. Analysis can be called an attempt, a major attempt to reconstruct the patient's personality and patterns of behavior. Moxon came to see me only 3 times. He was negative. Negative? Yes, that's to say he resisted the analysis, took some of his hatreds and animosities out on me. It's not unusual. In fact, it's a necessary part of the analysis. However, not wishing to get too technical, suffice it to say that I found Moxon lacking in conscience, honesty, and a sense of responsibility. Where's he working now? At Smithfield Market. Doing what? Well, he's a foreman checker in the sheds. Oh, dear. He hasn't worked there long. Do you know that? No, I didn't. What did he do before, and when did he change his job? Moxon was the manager of a branch of Shental supermarkets, not far from Gloucester Road. He lost interest. That's in keeping with his illness. And he left Shental's at the same time they moved from Earl's Court. I lost track of them then. I did my best to find them, realizing that Moxon was possibly a psychopath, capable of committing antisocial and even criminal acts. I realized that Moxon's condition was too severe for me to handle once a week at 50-minute sessions on my couch. Just before I lost track of the Moxons, I suggested to Moxon himself that he should become a voluntary inpatient at a sanatorium, where he would have received more intensive treatment and where he'd be unable to get into mischief. And what happened when you suggested that? He ran away, and I haven't seen either him or his wife since. Well, there's no wonder Mrs. Moxon left him. She's probably terrified of him. Yes, she probably is. Well, what do you mean by that, and where are you going? With you. Just let me get into my coat.
There, come on.
Do you mind telling me where we're going?
You know where Moxon is, right?
Right.
Well, he has to be taken to a place of safety, and you and I are going to do it.
But what about Mrs. Moxon?
At the moment, she's of secondary importance. Perhaps once she hears that her husband can't do her any harm, she'll come out of hiding.
Hey, now, wait a minute, Doc. If I turn up there with you, Moxon will know that I know the truth.
Oh, yes. That's right.
Oh, but I can handle him.
I hope you realize what you're up against. I'd better come anyway. I'll keep out of sight until he's been apprehended.
And so it was the two men set off for Smithfield Market. It was getting on for 5 o'clock, and Studdy was worrying about the fact that Moxon may have already left work for home. He fretted about the rush hour traffic which was holding them up. On the way, Dr. Adams mentioned another symptom of mental illness, compulsion.
It's an action that a person is driven to perform again and again. It may be something like washing his hands all the time.
Yeah, go on.
If a neurotic person is prevented from carrying out his particular compulsive act, this leads to discomfort. In serious cases, the discomfort may border on panic, even tears and extreme agitation.
Well, I'm getting pretty agitated myself about this traffic, but it's not compulsion.
Eventually, having crossed the heart of the city, Studdy and Dr. Adams arrived outside United Distributors at Smithfield Market. The place was practically deserted. Studdy inquired at the office for Moxon, and again he was directed to the cooling sheds. Adams accompanied Studdy part of the way, and then, as they'd planned, he let Studdy go on alone, while he himself kept out of sight.
43, 44, 45, 46,
Mr. Moxon.
47, 48, 49, 50. 50, yes? Oh, hello, Mr. Studdy. Any luck?
Yes, I think we're getting somewhere.
Oh, good, good.
You seem to feel the cold pretty badly. What's the matter? You got poor circulation in your hands?
No. Habit, I suppose?
Yeah, I suppose so. Or compulsion.
What's that?
I said you should keep your gloves on. Have you finished here?
Yes, just about to pack up.
You feel like taking a little ride?
Where to?
Oh, just back to the office. Mr. Simon wants to see you.
What about?
Well, we're not having much progress in finding your wife, Mr. Moxon.
Well, now you've told me, there's not much point in my going to the office, is there?
Well, aren't you upset about us not being able to find your wife?
I'm sure you've done your best, Mr. Studdy.
Well, that doesn't answer my question, and stop doing that.
What are you doing? Let go my hands.
Why, Mr. Moxon? Does it bother you, me holding your hands like this?
Let me go.
Oh, no, you don't. You just want to rub them together again, don't you?
Please let go my hands. You're hurting me, do you hear? You're hurting me. Please, you must let me go.
Or else what? You're coming with me, Mr. Moxon.
No, please don't take me away. I can't go. I've got to look after Gwen.
What do you mean by that?
My wife, you fool! My wife needs me!
Oh, where is she? Dr. Adams! Dr. Adams!
What on earth's happened?
It's all right, I've got him. Look, I'm not hurting him.
Listen to me, Moxon. We're taking you away to a nice place.
Now, wait a minute, Dr. Adams. I've got a feeling we're about to hear a confession.
A confession?
Yeah. Ask him about his wife. Go on, ask him where she is.
Listen, Moxon. Where's Gwen?
Gwen?
Yes. Where is she?
Gwen? Where's Gwenny? In the shop. Mind the cornflakes.
Oh, Clifford, why did you stop going to see Dr. Adams?
Because he's a fool.
But he wants to help you. He's the only man who can help you. Won't you go and see him again?
No, shut up!
Please, Clifford. I love you. I want to see you well again.
Well, me? It's you. You're sick, not me. And stop going on about it. Leave me alone.
Don't shout, Clifford. What will the other men say?
There's nobody else here. You're sick, Gwen. Dr. Adams can't help you. Why don't you go to sleep?
What on earth are you talking about? Clifford, what are you doing with that meat cleaver? No, Clifford, no! Please, please, don't!
Where is she, Clifford?
Sleeping.
Yes, but where?
Cold. Bitterly cold. 32 degrees of frost.
Oh, no. Dear heaven, no.
Do you know what he means?
Yes, I'm afraid I do. 32 degrees of frost. He mentioned that the last time I came here to see him. I think we'll find Mrs. Moxon in cold storage.
Henry Simon returns to conclude the story in just a moment. You are listening to Address Unknown, brought to you by Colgate-Palmolive, makers of Colgate Dental Cream, Palmolive Soap, Ajax the Foaming Cleanser, and Super Fab with Wonder White. And here again is Henry Simon.
As I told you, it was one of the strangest cases we've ever handled. Between them, Studdy and Dr. Adams led Moxon away. They returned later with the police. The great cold storage chamber was opened up, and the body of Gwen Moxon was found buried in the ice on the floor. That was where Clifford Moxon's compulsion came from. His hands were cold from digging in the ice. He felt compelled to chafe them together to warm himself. He was so disturbed and convinced that his wife couldn't be found that, compulsively, he consulted us. And now, as always, this is Henry Simon inviting you to meet me here again, and, for the present, bidding you au revoir.
Colgate-Palmolive invites you to listen next Friday evening at 8 o'clock when Henry Simon will introduce another story in their gripping and unusual series, Address Unknown.
In one moment, the search for Christopher Adamson. Address unknown.
And here again is Henry Simon.
Sometimes before in this series of programs, I've talked about the motives for disappearances. It never ceases to surprise me that not only are two cases never the same, but there are even so many basically different reasons for a person not being where he or she ought to be. Just when I feel that I've now seen everything, along comes a case which is totally different from anything that's gone before. The disappearance of Christopher Adamson was an example of what I mean. His father, George Adamson, a noted London broker, came to see me one Monday morning in June of last year. George Adamson was a worried man, a kindly one, but a worried one. He came to report that his son Chris was missing and had been for some 2 days. His weathered face was creased with anxiety as he spoke to me.
I'm desperately worried, Mr. Simon. The more so because when I last saw Chris, we parted, not on the best of terms.
There was a quarrel?
Well, hardly, but we argued. Rather acrimoniously, I'm unhappy to say.
I don't think you should reproach yourself too bitterly, Mr. Adamson. Arguments occur in the best regulated of families.
Yes, I suppose so.
What did you argue about?
Oh, it seems so trivial in retrospect, I hardly remember. In any case, I'm quite sure it's neither important nor relevant.
Your son is how old?
Chris will be 22 at the end of November.
Mm-hmm. And what does he do?
Do?
Well, he works, I take it.
Oh, I'm afraid I misunderstood you for a moment. Actually, he doesn't, not yet. You see, he's only comparatively recently come out of the Army, National Service, you know. Well, he's going to join me in Adamson and Phelps when he's settled down.
Oh, did he find National Service so unsettling?
That's not quite what I intended to imply, Mr. Simon. I felt that when Chris came out of the Army that he should have a complete rest, complete break before entering the world of commerce.
Oh, yes?
Yes, there's a great future for Chris. Of course, I had to work the business up from scratch. Chris will inherit as is.
Quite.
My partner was killed during the war. Poor Godfrey. He was a brave man. He felt the call, and he didn't shirk his duty. Only 38 when he went, poor lad.
Oh, there are no other directors of your firm?
No, just me, near retiring age, and Chris. He's a lucky boy.
He certainly sounds it.
The whole position's absolutely gilt-edged as far as Chris is concerned. However, we're getting rather away from the purpose of my visit.
Yes, you say your son's been missing since the day before yesterday.
That's right, Saturday.
At what time on Saturday did you last see him?
Just after lunch, which we had together at our home at Caterham.
Oh, that's not too far away from Bromley in Kent, is it?
That's right.
And that's when the argument occurred?
I'm afraid so. It happened actually at lunch. Chris got up and went to his room. About an hour later, I went up there to see him, to try and make amends if I could, and he wasn't there. I called out to him, but there was no answer. I suddenly felt cold and lonely, as if I knew something had happened. Even so, I didn't really worry till that night. Then I thought Chris might have gone round to see his friend Peter. I decided not to worry. I went to bed early on Saturday. It'd been a trying week. And, of course, Chris had a key. I breakfasted in bed. I always do on a Sunday. It wasn't till about 11 that I realized that Chris hadn't come in, nor was he in the house. Well, then I panicked. I rang up everybody I could think of. No luck. I didn't know what to do. And then I thought of the Missing Persons Bureau. And I felt if anybody could help me, then it was you.
I'm very flattered. How did you hear of us in the first place?
You discovered the whereabouts of a friend, Harley Cuthbertson.
Oh, yes, I remember the case well.
So, here I am.
You haven't been in touch with the police?
No.
May I inquire why? This doesn't sound like a case where possible publicity would be harmful in any way.
I'll be quite frank with you, Mr. Simon. Quite apart from the fact that I don't think this is a case for the police, the publicity which might result from consulting them could well be injurious to me.
In what way?
I've been notified that I may expect a knighthood in the birthday honours list.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. And naturally, I wish to avoid any possible scandal.
Yes, of course.
But I must find Chris.
Tell me, this sort of thing has never happened before?
Good heavens, no. It's completely uncharacteristic.
Well, Mr. Adamson, if you'll give me some half a dozen or so addresses, we'll see what we can do for you. After George Adamson's departure, I called in Agent Brad Farley and detailed the case to him. He listened in attentive silence. There was a long pause when I finished speaking. Then he spoke.
Chris Adamson. He'd be quite a catch, wouldn't he?
Meaning?
I mean, from a blackmail point of view.
He would, but I don't think it's even remotely likely. This isn't Chicago, you know.
Yeah, okay, Chief. I know it happens very rarely in England, even so.
No, it looks to me rather like a case of pique. Son, newly endowed with freedom from the army, and perhaps even having attained some rank, doesn't yet feel like bowing to parental wishes.
Yeah, but from what you've told me, old Adamson seems rather a genial old stick.
Oh, yes, but even so.
Even so, it's worth considering.
I must say that when you said that Adamson would be quite a catch, I was thinking along rather different lines.
Cherchez la femme?
But with rather a difference. Whilst I think that our client is 100% reliable and honest, I don't think he gave us quite the complete picture.
Well, he answered all the questions you put to him, didn't he?
Very nearly. To be more accurate, he answered all but one.
That one being?
The cause of the lunchtime quarrel between himself and his son. Oh. The quarrel which took place immediately before Christopher Adamson's disappearance. When I questioned Mr. Adamson Sr., he simply said something to the effect that it had, well, no bearing on the case.
And that was the only question that he didn't answer?
Yes. But then I didn't ask all the questions.
Oh, why not?
I didn't want to do all your work for you, did I, Farley? I discussed the questions which I'd left unasked at some length with Farley. He was all for heading straight for Waltham, but I dissuaded him. I felt that as Chris Adamson's close friend Peter Simpson lived nearer at hand, he might call there first.
You're Mr. Peter Simpson?
That's right.
I'm Farley, Brad Farley, Missing Persons Bureau.
Are you indeed? Well, then you must be looking for Chris, right?
Check.
I've been away for the weekend, but my mother told me when I came in that Mr. Adamson had been on the telephone. What's it all about?
That's what I'm trying to find out. You were in the army with Christopher Adamson, right?
That's right. We were both in the signals.
Can you think of any reason for him having gone off like this?
No, I can't. But supposing he hasn't just gone off, supposing he's been kidnapped.
Yeah, that thought occurred to me. But it's not very likely. At least I'm told it isn't.
He's quite a catch.
Yeah, something tells me I've been here before. Look, what about girlfriends, huh?
Mine or his?
His.
Norma O'Brien. Smasher. Nightclub hostess.
Oh, that sounds promising.
You should see her.
I intend doing just that. By the way, does the old man approve?
I don't really know that he's in the picture.
Oh.
And if you're seeing him, I don't think I should mention it. Actually, I'm sure he wouldn't approve, although he'd be very nice about it. He is very nice.
Yeah, so everybody keeps telling me. Whereabouts this Norma O'Brien, Helena?
Yes. Irish blood somewhere back down the line. I don't know where she lives, but she works every night at the Blue Feather off Forsyth Street.
Oh, yeah, I know it.
Do you think she's mixed up in all this?
Could be. She'd at least supply a motive of sorts.
Well, anything else I can tell you?
Not just a moment, no, but don't run away. I'll be back.
As the Blue Feather is a late nightclub, Farley decided to pay his visit to client before combining business and pleasure later in the evening. It was mid-afternoon when he reached Caterham in Surrey. He found the Adamson country house without too much trouble, and George Adamson was in and would see him at once.
Please sit down, Mr. Farley. Mr. Simon told me I could expect a call from you.
Thank you.
Is it too early to ask whether you have any news for me?
I'm afraid it is, yeah. I can take it from that your son hasn't put in an appearance since you spoke to Mr. Simon, and that you haven't heard from him, right?
I've heard nothing. I'd have notified you immediately if I had. I'm wondering if I should have called in the police.
Well, give us at least 24 hours, Mr. Adamson.
Yes, of course, I'm sorry. But I really am so terribly worried.
Yeah, well, there are just 3 questions I'd like to ask you, sir.
Yes, of course, anything.
Well, first of all, what about your son's girlfriends?
Well, I don't think he has any. Not steady ones, that is. Oh, he dated a number of pretty girls like any other young man of his age. But I don't think any more than once or twice at the most. What's your second question?
You told Mr. Simon that you couldn't think of any reason why his son should leave home voluntarily. You haven't thought of any reason since you left our office?
No, I haven't. I did tell Mr. Simon we'd had a bit of an argument on Saturday, though. Although I think that was hardly a motive for Chris to leave home.
Well, that brings me to the third question. What was the argument about?
Well, I did also say to Mr. Simon that couldn't possibly have anything to do with the case.
Yeah, I know you did, sir, but would you let me be the judge? Rest assured that anything you say to me will be treated as being in the strictest confidence.
Well, if you must know, we talked about money.
Oh. Funnily enough, that was another thing I was going to ask you. How does your son manage for money if he's not yet earning?
Well, he receives an allowance, of course. A more than adequate allowance. Also, is a small amount of savings under a compulsory army savings scheme. However, I don't think there's much of that left.
Well, then why did you quarrel about money?
Simply because he wanted me to invest money in a scheme which was neither practical nor desirable. I told him so, and he was upset. It wasn't the first time he brought the matter up. However, this time, I'm afraid he lost his temper, and things were said which, frankly, should not be said between father and son.
I see, yeah.
Were there any other questions, Mr. Farley?
Not right now, sir, but there will be later. And though he appeared to tell me more than he told you, Chief, now I come to analyze it, I don't think he did.
Well, at least you got the fact that the quarrel, which seems to loom all-important, was over money to be invested.
Yeah, sure, but it doesn't tell us much.
Not about our missing person, no, but it does tell us a little about client.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a lot of money, that much is obvious. Yet he begrudges an investment advised by his son and heir. Now, why?
Mrs. Hartley left about 5 minutes ago. She put the phone through.
Missing Persons Bureau?
Could I speak to Mr. Simon, please?
Speaking.
Oh, Mr. Simon, I was hoping I'd catch you. It's George Adamson here. Chris is all right.
What?
Yes, he's safe, but we must stop looking for him.
I don't quite understand.
I just had a note. It came in the 5:30 delivery. It's from the kidnappers.
Henry Simon returns to continue this story in just a moment. You are listening to The Colgate Show, Address Unknown. And here again is Henry Simon.
I must admit the news staggered me. Farley had mentioned the possibility of blackmail, but kidnapping was not even considered. Would you mind repeating that, Mr. Adamson?
I received a note from Chris's kidnappers. It arrived not 2 minutes ago.
Well, do you mind reading it to me?
Well, it does say that any search in progress must be called off.
Does it specifically say that you mustn't divulge its contents?
No.
Good. Then will you please read it to me?
It says, if you want to see your son again, you go to your bank first thing in the morning and get £10,000 in small denomination notes, used ones. When you get back to your house with the money, there will be a further communication. Your son is well, and he'll stay well so long as you follow out these instructions and also call off any search you may have instigated.
Well, at least they're literate. Is the note written or typed?
Looks like separate words cut out from newspapers.
It would be. What are you going to do?
I'm going to follow the instructions to the letter. £10,000 won't break me. The kidnappers had known me better, they'd have asked for more. I felt from the start that it was a case of kidnapping. My immediate feeling is one of relief.
Yes, I can understand that. You can rely on us to do nothing which might jeopardize your son's safety.
And I'm very glad you agreed to call off the investigation.
That's not quite what I said, Mr. Adamson. I said I'd do nothing to jeopardize your son's position, and I mean just that. However, there's one thing you can do for me, if you will.
What's that, Mr. Simon?
Please phone me after the kidnappers have contacted you tomorrow morning.
Do you think that's wise?
Mr. Adamson, this is not America. Your phone will not be tapped. Rely on me, and please trust me. But phone me. That evening, Farley went, as arranged, to the Blue Feather. It was far from the nightclub he'd expected, being almost a washed beatnik set-up. It all seemed very pleasant and wholesome. Farley arrived shortly after 9:30 and found that the floor show started at 11. The hour and a half passed very easily in the friendly atmosphere of the club. Then Norma O'Brien appeared. She sang very well. Afterwards, she joined the diners and dancers. Before long, she was sitting at Farley's table.
That was quite an act, Miss O'Brien.
Thank you.
Good for the ears and bad for the blood pressure.
Thank you again. You haven't been in here before?
No, but I'd enjoy your act, however many times I heard it.
Well, that's not quite what I meant. I meant I haven't seen you here before.
Do you know all the clients?
Pretty well.
Well, you're quite right, I am new, yeah. Still, a friend of mine comes here, and he's often talked to me about it. I've been meaning to drop in for a long time, and tonight I got round to it. I phoned Chris, but he wasn't at home, so I came on my own.
Chris?
Yeah, my friend.
What's his other name?
Oh, I thought if you'd know it, but it's Adamson.
Oh, but I know Chris Adamson very well. Very well indeed.
What a coincidence.
Yes, isn't it?
Funny, he's never mentioned knowing you.
Well, there's a reason for that.
Oh?
What's even funnier is that he's never mentioned you to me.
Yeah, well, will he be in tonight, do you know?
Not tonight. At least I shouldn't think so. But how would I know, anyway?
When I couldn't get him at home, I half expected to find him already here.
Well, he hasn't been in, for 3 or 4 days.
Look, I've got to be pushing along. If Chris comes in later, tell him I was here, will you? There was something I wanted to see him about, something rather important.
I'll tell him. Don't you worry about that. I'll be sure to tell him you were here.
It was shortly after 10 the next morning when the call from Adamson Sr. came through. He sounded breathless and excited.
Mr. Simon, it's come.
A letter?
No, a phone call. Just after I got back from the bank. Almost as if they were watching the house. I think it was from a public phone box. A woman's voice.
You've got the money, haven't you?
Yes, I've just returned from the bank.
Well, listen, and listen carefully. 1 hour from now, that's at 11:15, drive your car onto the main Brighton Road. That's the A5. Just after the road bypasses Reigate, there's a little pub called the Golden Horse. You can see it quite easily from the road. A couple of 100 yards past that, the road passes over a stream. You can't miss it because there's a freshly painted white milestone. As soon as you pass the milestone, throw the bag containing the money out of the window onto the grass verge. Don't slow down. Once the money is out of the car, accelerate and drive on for another 5 miles before turning your car and drive into the house.
Supposing somebody sees me.
It's very unlikely there'll be anybody there at that time. But if there is, drive on for exactly 1 mile and drop it at the second milestone.
And when will my son be returned to me?
He'll be released before midday.
Is he all right?
Perfectly all right. Goodbye.
And you say the call has only just come through?
Not 2 minutes ago, Mr. Simon.
Good. You'll follow the instructions, of course.
Yes. You're not going to do anything, are you?
Rest assured, Mr. Adamson, I'm not going to do anything that will endanger your son. Goodbye. Right, Farley, we've got to work fast. We've got less than an hour, plus the time it'll take Adamson to get onto the Brighton Road. You can drive Glen Martin's car, can't you?
Are you kidding?
They've given 2 places for him to dump the money. That means that they won't be necessarily at the first place. They'll probably follow him in another car once he passes Reigate. If there's anybody at the first place, any casual passerby, that is, it's going to be awkward. As soon as you've gone, I'm going to have a further chat with Client. Just a couple of ends I want to tie up.
I thought I was going to do the tying up in Morton's car.
Oh, yes, you are. But there's still a couple of things about this case I don't quite understand.
Yeah, do I take a gun?
Somehow, I think that a gun is the last thing you'll need. Neither the police nor I approve of guns in any case. Our job is to find a missing person, not to apprehend a criminal.
Okay. Suppose if I have a long wait, I can always make myself a bow and arrow.
Mr. Adamson, there's something I want to add to what I said to you just now.
Yes?
You're not a fast driver, are you?
No.
Good. Today I want you to be particularly slow.
What are you going to do, Mr. Simon?
I'm going to give you some sound advice. You must trust me completely. I had to let you go to the bank this morning because it was quite on the cards that your movements were being watched. However, in your own home, you can't be observed. Be assured that the kidnappers don't know about your phone calls.
Supposing they've been trying to get me.
It's most unlikely. If what I think is correct, in any case, anybody could be phoning you. Now, what I want you to do is this. I want you to pack the bag that you intended filling with money with newspaper of about the same bulk.
But, Mr. Simon, they'll just take it out on Chris. I don't mind the money, really I don't.
Please trust me. I'm quite certain your son will not suffer in any way. Now, please do as I say. There isn't much time. You'd better start right away.
Very well.
There were 2 calls to be made, both of them in London. I left instructions with Mrs. Hartley and set out on the first. Here, I drew a blank.
I'm afraid she's out, and that's rather surprising. She usually sleeps till midday. Well, I mean, if you work till the early hours, you've got to catch up and you sleep sometime, haven't you? Stands to reason. Matter of fact, I can't ever remember her getting up this early, but 8 o'clock when she was out, crack of dawn for her.
I tracked Peter Simpson, the missing person's friend, to his office in the city. Your friend Chris Adamson, who's been missing for a few days now, needed some money for an investment.
Yes, his father wouldn't give it to him, so bang goes our chance of $1 million. Oh, if he could only have got his inheritance, then it would have been so much different for both of us.
In what way?
Well, you see, Chris's mother left him £10,000 in trust. Naturally, he thought he'd get it when he turned 21, but can you believe it? The old boy won't part. At least not until Chris is safely tied up in a firm.
And what did you want the £10,000 for?
We had first option on a garage and roadhouse in a very good position on the Brighton Road, but now Chris has disappeared, his father won't part, and the option expires tomorrow.
Henry Simon returns to conclude this story in just a moment. And here again is Henry Simon.
3 cars passed the Golden Horse on the main Brighton Road within minutes of each other that same morning. The first, Agent Martin's red sports car, driven by Farley, pulled off the road just past the milestone. Fortunately, bracken was thick enough just to provide enough cover. Hardly had Farley got himself into position than another car passed.
And here we are, right in the nose. Now we shall see what we shall see. I must say it's a bit of a temptation, all that loot lying there. Here comes the car. Well. Good morning, Miss O'Brien. Fancy meeting you here. Oh, yeah. Isn't that our missing boy, Chris Adamson, at the wheel? Guess what? My car's broken down. I wonder if you two would be kind enough to give me a lift back to town.
The curious thing was that although Chris Adamson had in fact blackmailed his own father, the money was his legitimately anyway. It was an odd situation. Odder still was the fact that it did nothing to destroy the bond between father and son. George Adamson, having received proof positive of his son's determination to carve a way for himself rather than move into a ready-made position, made no further attempts to withhold the necessary money. And now, as always, this is Henry Simon inviting you to meet me here again, and for the present, bidding you au revoir.
This is Henry Simon bringing you another story from my files here at the Missing Persons Bureau.
In these stories of the Missing Persons Bureau, dramatized for Henry Simon, names and addresses have, for obvious reasons, been changed. The Colgate Show, Address Unknown, is brought to you by the makers of Colgate Dental Cream, Colgate Toothbrushes, Colgate Shampoo, Colgate Beauty Soap, Colgate Hairspray, and Colgate Talc.
In one moment, the search for Charles Denton, address unknown.
And here again is Henry Simon.
In times of war and international unrest, there are obviously a great number of disappearances and unaccounted for deaths. In such times, too, even though Britain herself may not be directly involved in the conflict in question, a large number of British subjects find themselves caught up in the action. When this happens, it's not unnatural for the Missing Persons Bureau to play a part in attempting to solve one or more of the disappearance mysteries. I remember at the time of the French troubles with Algeria, we had a caller to the Bureau, a most attractive young lady named Lillian Wentworth. She came directly to the point of her visit.
My fiancé, Mr. Simon, Charles Denton, he seems to be missing. I've tried the police, even checked all the hospitals and nursing homes I could think of. There isn't any trace of him. I'm coming to you almost as a last resort.
Well, a great many people do, Miss Wentworth. We have a surprisingly successful record in locating missing persons. Now, let's have some details, please. Your fiancé's age, physical description.
Charles is 31. He's about 5'10", and average weight, what would that be, about 150?
That's close enough. Colouring?
Dark brown hair, almost black, really. Blue eyes, rather dark complexion, very suntanned. Charles spends quite a lot of time on the Riviera and mooning around the Mediterranean on his yacht.
Oh, he's wealthy, then.
Well, rather comfortably well off, I'd say. Not rich in the usual sense. But he never seems to want for ready cash.
I see. And his occupation?
He's a writer.
Oh, I wondered why the name rang a bell. He writes those Secret Service agent books, doesn't he? What's
Yes.
the name? Greg something?
Greg Carson.
Yes.
Yes, that's the one. Charles says it brings him in quite a lot of money. I know he's published mainly in paperbacks, but there does seem to be quite a market for thrillers like that.
There must be, yes. Just about every bookstore or station newsstand displays dozens of books of that type. You say he moons around the Mediterranean quite a lot. Just how much would that be?
Oh, for weeks, sometimes even months at a time. He does most of his writing on his yacht. He says you can't find peace like that in any other way. He's probably quite right. Oh, the times I've been aboard Lady Susan have been wonderful. Nobody to bother you, just the sea and the ports of call when you feel like company. I wish I could live like that all the time.
I should think all the time would become a bit much, Miss Wentworth. Times like that take on an added flavor when they're not overindulged in, if you pardon the split infinitive.
You could very well be right, Mr. Simon.
Now, back to your fiancé. If, as you say, he's always away for weeks or even months at a time, how can you be sure that he's missing? Couldn't this just be one of those extended periods?
No. No, Charles has a thing about keeping appointments and never being late. He was supposed to have seen his agent and his publisher 2 days ago, right here in London. But he simply never turned up.
Their names?
Desmond Wright is the publisher. Trigon Books. You've heard of him?
Yes, indeed. The Three Triangles trademark.
Yes, that's the one. And Malcolm Bennett is his agent. He only handles a dozen or so clients, but that seems to be the way he prefers it. Needless to say, that dozen comprises only best-selling authors.
I see. Now, exactly when last did you see your fiancé?
It was Thursday of last week. He said he'd only be away for 3 or 4 days, but now it's a full week. There's no sign of Charles.
Do you know where he went?
Yes, he went to Paris. He stayed in his flat there. Number 14, Rue Petier in Montmartre.
14 Rue Petier, Montmartre. Good. You're sure of that, Miss Wentworth? Sure that he did go to Paris?
Yes, quite sure. He telephoned me on Thursday night and again on the Friday.
Excellent. And his address here in London?
27 Maxton House, Dawes Avenue, Kensington. Oh, that's his home base, really. It's a lovely flat.
Now, is there anyone there at the moment?
I shouldn't think so. He has a woman who comes in every morning to do the cleaning chores and dusting. Sometimes she cooks for him, too.
And her name?
Mrs. Kreppel.
Kreppel. She's not there this afternoon, then?
No, she always leaves at about 1 o'clock.
Pity. You wouldn't happen to have a key to the flat, would you?
Yes, I do have. Charles gave me one some months ago. But why should you need one, Mr. Simon?
Well, the agent I'll assign to the case will probably like to have a look round there. It'd be easier, and I'm sure a lot more comforting to your peace of mind, if you were there when he did so.
Oh, I see. Yes, well, that would be fine. Is there anything else, Mr. Simon?
Not that I can think of at the moment. If you just leave me your address and telephone number, I think that'll take care of everything. Oh, and I shouldn't worry too much about all this, Miss Wentworth. In most cases involving missing persons, there's usually a very banal and innocuous explanation.
You said in most cases, Mr. Simon. That's what's worrying me. Perhaps Charles is one of those that isn't.
I wasn't unduly worried about Charles Denton's disappearance. Despite Lillian Wentworth's assurance that he was one of that rare breed of personalities who are never late for an appointment, the fact that Denton was a writer seemed to cancel out the virtues, in my mind at any rate. As a whole, writers are not the most dependable of people, and this could well have been an occasion when Denton decided to stay away on his own instead of returning to London for the appointment with his agent and publisher. I said as much to Agent Luke Parker when I briefed him on the assignment. Parker grinned and blew smoke up at the ceiling.
Don't look now, Chief, but you're being kind of bigoted.
Bigoted? Me?
Sure.
In what way, may I ask?
Maligning the whole race of writers on account of maybe you happen to have met up with a couple who weren't all that much on the responsible side. And what happens? To shove the whole mass of them into the same category? Oh, why, Chief, some of my best friends are writers.
How enlightening. Nonetheless, Parker, we shall take Miss Wentworth's belief in her fiancé's dependability with just a pinch or two of salt. I think it might be an idea if you went round to Denton's agent this afternoon, found out what he thinks of his client's passion for punctuality. It may turn out that Lillian Wentworth has a rose-colored view of her fiancé.
Sure, will do. Got his address?
It's in the phone book.
Thanks.
If you get no joy there, you might try his publisher. Then, if necessary, Miss Wentworth will let you into Denton's flat. But save that until you have to, Parker. She seems to be the type that protects individual privacy with a passion that borders on the overpowering. When I suggested that you may want to look round Denton's flat, her eyebrows nearly hit the ceiling with disapproval.
Okay, message received and understood. Handle the lady with kid gloves, right?
It may pay you to do so, yes.
Anything else, Chief?
It's now 2:14. You have a busy afternoon ahead of you, Parker. I suggest that you get weaving. Parker telephoned Denton's agent, Malcolm Bennett, and arranged to call round at his office within the hour. When Parker arrived, he found a smoothly running machine that digested authors' words and then regurgitated them in the direction of the most profitable publisher. The office was neat, modern, and functional, and Parker was shown directly into Malcolm Bennett's private sanctuary. Bennett himself was smooth, affable, but for some reason best known to Parker, he irritated. There was a measure of pompousness to the man that had no trouble in making Parker's hackles rise.
Charles, of course, is one of our middleweight writers, you know. Churns out the words like sausages, and most of the time they don't need much in the way of revision or polishing. Mainly paperback sales for Greg Carson, usual market stuff. Not one of the really best-selling chappies we have in the stable, but better than the bottom rung fellows. The sort that write one good book for every 5 or 6. No better than mediocre. Dependable, yes, on the whole I'd say he was.
And the fact that he didn't show up for your appointment was out of character for him.
Well, yes, to a degree. Nothing to worry about.
Why not?
Well, you don't know writers, old man. A week in Paris could lead to a month, even a couple of months on the tear.
Uh-huh. You know, something's been puzzling me. I've read a couple of Greg Carson's books. They're pretty good. But the bit I don't get is how come the author knows so much about the insides of the Secret Service and about the other side of things, the gun running and the underworld bit. It's almost as though the writing was being done from personal experience. Any truth in that?
Personal experience? Oh, you mean was Charles ever mixed up in the intelligence outfit himself?
Well, something like that.
Perish the thought, old man. Nothing more than a lively imagination, that's all.
You're sure of that?
Oh, positive, old man. Absolutely positive.
Parker tried without success to get hold of Denton's publisher, Desmond Wright, and the trail had abruptly worn a trifle thin. He decided to take a look round Denton's flat, and accordingly contacted Lillian Wentworth and arranged to meet her at Maxon House at 5:30. She arrived on time and unlocked the front door.
Go ahead, Mr. Parker. Although I must admit I fail to see the point of your snooping around here.
Snooping? Oh, I wouldn't call it that, Miss Wentworth. Just seeing if maybe we can find something to lead us to the missing person. And that's what you want, ain't it?
But of course that's what I want. What an absurd question to ask.
Just checking, ma'am, just checking. Man's got to get his facts right, and that's a fact.
Well, what particularly did you want to see?
Don't know for certain, ma'am. Maybe I'll just mosey around and see where my nose leads me. Real nice-looking pad the man's got. Expensive.
I told Mr. Simon that Charles doesn't generally want for money.
Looks like it. Those paintings must have cost a pretty penny. And real high-class Persian carpets. Good taste the man's got. Particularly in his choice of women, ma'am. And that's meant as a compliment in case you weren't too sure.
I'm sorry, Mr. Parker. You just caught me on the wrong foot. I'm not usually the snappish and ill-tempered with people I've only just met.
No offense, ma'am, no offense. Hey, quite a stack of mail over on this table. This where it's usually left by the cleaning woman?
Yes. Mrs. Kreppel is a very methodical woman. If the mail were left anywhere except where it should be, she'd feel it some sort of sacrilege was being committed.
Yeah. Man gets mail from all over the world. Must do a lot of letter writing himself to get replies like this. Mr. Charles Denton, Esquire, Hong Kong, Melbourne, Cape Town.
He uses a secretarial service when he needs that sort of thing. Just dictates replies. Doesn't bother about sitting down and writing anything involved.
Hey, this is kind of funny.
Well, what is?
2 letters here. To Mark Damon. This address. Who's he?
Oh, I don't know. I've never heard the name before.
I wonder. Yeah. Maybe it could stack up at that. It just maybe could.
What could, Mr. Parker?
You say your fiancé left London last Thursday and headed for Paris. You also say he phoned you on the Thursday night and the Friday night. The call came through the Paris telephone exchange, Miss Wentworth.
Well, of course they did. What are you getting at?
Well, just this, ma'am. I checked with the people at Customs and Immigration. They double-checked with the passport office. And you know what? Last Thursday, they had nobody named Charles Denton leaving the country.
Henry Simon returns to continue this story in just a moment. You are listening to The Colgate Show, Address Unknown. And here again is Henry Simon.
Parker kept a close watch on Lillian Wentworth's face as he said the words. He half hoped for a telltale flicker of something to show in her eyes, something that could very well give him a lead to our missing person. But there was nothing. A puzzled frown creased her forehead, and she stared hard at Parker. She seemed more annoyed than evasive.
He didn't leave the country.
Not according to the records, no, ma'am.
Well, there's some mistake.
That figures.
But I don't understand it. I spoke to Charles on both Thursday and Friday, and there were calls from Paris. Well, what's this all about?
Maybe this gives us part of the answer. The letter's here, addressed to Mark Damon. Not care of Charles Denton or anything like that, just the name and the address. This address.
You think Charles was using a different name?
Could be. One sure way of checking, though, we call the passport office and find out whether or not a guy using this name hightailed it across to Paris last Thursday. And if that's so, ma'am, I ain't going to buy no story about coincidence. That's it, Chief. The records show that Charles Denton left and returned to this country 3 or 4 times in the last 5 years. But Lillian Wentworth tells me he's been and gone at least 10 times during the same time.
And the man who calls himself Mark Damon?
Yeah, funny, ain't it? He's been away 6 or 7 times. Add the 2 and you come up with the right answer.
So Charles Denton occasionally uses a fake name and a fake passport, I might add, for his trips aboard. Which adds up to something a trifle on the odd side, I'd say.
It stinks.
Quite so. Any theories, Parker?
Nothing that comes up with anything solid. Just a whole mess of theories and ideas that could fit the facts, but they don't happen to have any proof lying around to back them up.
And Lillian Wentworth? Has she any ideas?
None. Far as she's concerned, her boy Charles is pure as the driven snow. And this double passport jazz don't make any kind of sense to her.
You sound as though you believed her.
Yep, sure do. I threw a high curve, and when I hit her with the dope about Denton not leaving the country, I hoped maybe she'd react, and I was watching her like 3 hawks. But no soap, Chief. It didn't mean a thing to her. And you know the way I am with phonies, I smell them from miles away. Not so with Lillian. She's on the level, but somebody else might not be.
Who?
Malcolm Bennett.
Denton's agent? What makes you think so?
I don't know. Nothing he said, nothing he didn't say, but I didn't like the way he said it. Too glib, too smooth, too much like he was trying to lead me away from where I was heading.
Anything in particular?
Just one. In one breath, he told me Denton was a reliable cat, real dependable. And the next, the fact that Denton didn't show up for the appointment meant nothing at all. Just the way writers behave and forget about it.
Interesting. What now, Parker?
Paris. I checked with our client and she okayed it. That's where Denton was, so that's where we pick up the trail, okay?
His flat. How do you get in?
Easy. Lillian Wentworth had a key for that one, too. This one. Any more questions?
On your way, Parker. On your way. Parker flew to France early the following morning. A cab from Orly Airport took him to Paris and dropped him in the sector of Montmartre where Charles Denton maintained a second flat. It was a 3rd-floor walk-up, and from the exterior seemed to be nothing prepossessing. Then Parker unlocked the front door and received a 2-part surprise. The interior of the flat was furnished in a style matching that of the London residence, luxurious, tasteful, and expensive. It would have been impressive were it not for the second part of the surprise. It looked as though the place had been hit by a cyclone.
Holy cow, will you look at that? Somebody's turned this place over but good. And whatever they were looking for, they sure didn't find. If they did, at least some of the place would still be tidy. But they went through it from top to bottom. Pillows ripped open, drawers pulled out, every scrap of paper in sight given a close inspection. Yeah, whoever was responsible for this little search sure knew what he was doing. But what were they looking for? That's the jackpot question. Doesn't seem to be anybody here. Let's check the bedroom. No, same sort of scene in here. Mattress ripped apart, wardrobe contents thrown all over the place, more drawers dumped on the floor. And no sign of Denton, which is maybe the most encouraging thing about it. If there was any sign of him, he'd probably be his dead body. Heck, now what do we do now? No other leads to follow here in Paris. No way of telling where Denton may have headed. Looks like you had a free airplane ride, Parker, and got nothing for it. But where do you go for honey now?
You! Do not move. Stay where you are.
Oh, come on in, buddy. The ward is fine.
Keep your mouth shut. Speak only when I demand an answer.
Funny thing, pal. You're real persuasive, or could it be that gun in your hand that makes you so appealing?
Shut up! It would be to your advantage to do as I say, my friend. And I want you to speak. Speak, but not in any other circumstances. Understood?
Yeah.
Now, who are you? What are you doing in this apartment?
Looking for the owner. My name's Parker.
For whom do you work?
Missing Persons Bureau.
What? Are you attempting to mock me? I would advise against such foolishness.
You asked who I work for, I told you, no gag.
I do not believe you. For what reason are you in Denton's flat? You did not break in, therefore you had the key. From where did you obtain it?
Well, how do you know I didn't break in?
This apartment has been under observation for several days now. We expected one of Denton's associates to arrive, and we were not wrong, were we?
Very wrong, pal. I have never seen Denton before in my life.
You think we are fools? Turn around.
What for?
Turn on.
Okay, buddy. That's the way you want it.
A blow crunched down sickeningly on the back of Parker's neck, and the room exploded in his eyes like Guy Fawkes gone mad. He had no idea how long he was unconscious, but as he slowly and painfully began to grope towards the surface again, he was aware of the faint, lingering aroma of ether. Obviously, he had been kept unconscious by an anesthetic for some time. The pounding in his head diminished slowly, and gradually his eyes began to focus. He found himself lying on a camp stretcher in a barren-looking room. A man stood casually against the single barred window, watching him. Parker lifted his head and saw the man who had knocked him unconscious sitting on a chair, the gun still in his hand.
Oh, brother.
Welcome back to the land of the living, old man.
Who are you?
Name's Denton. Charles Denton. I gather you were looking for me.
You have to knock me out to get me here?
I'm sorry, old man. I wasn't responsible for that. Chum Rene here was. He has a passion for violence. Caters to the animal in his nature.
Shut up.
Oh, did I offend you? I didn't mention what kind of animal.
You keep that filthy mouth of yours shut, or I'll...
You know what, old man? Kill me. Your bosses wouldn't like that. Not until they get their grubby little paws on the money. Yes? Watch yourself, Rene.
When we have made you talk, then I have you, Denton. This I will enjoy.
Look, will somebody please tell me what the heck is going on here?
A pleasure, old man. For some time now, I've been employed as a kind of unofficial courier, bringing money and sundry other little oddments to Paris from London. All of it has gone to the organization that employs friend Rene here. Oh, allow me to introduce, by the way. The full name's Rene Ducat, but the surname's doubtful. Rene's the sort of chap who didn't have a father.
You shut your mouth.
The organization does rather nasty things, like supplying arms and explosives to the Algerian terrorists, plastic bombs for maiming the women and children. You know the kind of thing.
And you've been helping them?
Up to a point.
For money?
Actually, no. For information. The people I'm connected with here were rather keen on finding out who the London contact is, so they had me infiltrate this organization. It all went rather smoothly, until now.
What stopped it?
I didn't deliver the last package. You know what it contained, old man? Enough uncut heroin to bring in a large-sized fortune.
Why didn't you deliver it?
To ruffle things up a bit. Set the cat among the pigeons sort of thing. If things look really bad, perhaps they'll send over their London contact to get things right again.
You know who he is?
We have an idea. It's a question of getting proof, you see.
Yeah, I'm beginning to.
Sounds like we are getting company.
You stay there, Denton. Move once and I shoot off your kneecap. You will be alive, but in great pain.
Oh, charming. You'd love that, wouldn't you, little piece of garbage?
Shut your face. I will not warn you again.
Oh, bless my soul. If it isn't Uncle Puss in Boots himself. Hello, Malcolm, old soul. Welcome to the party.
You've been rather silly, haven't you, old man?
Depends on your point of view, Malcolm. I don't think so.
Oh, well. Where's the parcel?
Oh, I am sorry. Classified information, don't you know?
We'll find it sooner or later. You will tell us eventually.
Hey, Dent, where does he come into all this?
My agent? He's the boy my superior suspected, so they had to plant me on him. I don't know who wrote all these words about Comrade Greg Carson, but it certainly wasn't me. It was enough, though, to look authentic. And now everything's worked out just beautifully. Use your head, Bennett. Pack it in now.
You seem to forget who's in control here. Rennie has the gun.
Of course. But who does he point it at? Me. That leaves Parker uncovered.
What are you talking about?
Now you don't know where to point it to, you chum.
You stay where you are.
You've got to leave one of us out in the open, haven't you? But which one?
Denton.
That's the...
Get him!
No, yet. You're not going anywhere, old man.
Nice going, pal.
Thank you.
That was one sweet right cross.
Yes, I'm sure Bennett appreciated it. We couldn't have him walking out on us, could we?
No, wouldn't have been at all polite.
Thanks for the help, old man. Whoever said Anglo-American relationships were deteriorating?
Henry Simon returns to conclude this story in just a moment. You are listening to The Colgate Show, Address Unknown. And here again is Henry Simon.
Luke Parker had found himself in the thick of a deadly game involving gun runners, drug addicts, and terrorists. But his quick thinking in diving for the man with the gun had saved what could have been a highly unfortunate situation. And the organization that employed Charles Denton? I'm afraid we cannot divulge information of that nature. The Official Secrets Act, you know. And now, as always, this is Henry Simon inviting you to meet me here again, and for the present, bidding you au revoir.
The Colgate Show, Address Unknown, is brought to you every Saturday by the makers of Colgate Dental Cream, Colgate Toothbrushes, Colgate Shampoo, Colgate Hairspray, and Colgate Talc. Listen again next Saturday evening at 7:30 when Henry Simon will introduce another story in the gripping and unusual series, The Colgate Show, Address Unknown. Listen on Monday morning at 8:45 to our next episode of The Reverend Matthew, a story of people, love, scandals, jealousies, ambitions, laughter, tears,